580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for stopping by as we've got plenty to discuss. We will talk all things Chiefs and including, is this the moment? And maybe it really is that the Chiefs turn this thing around, but it's also going to be the time, if they do, that they might be a little bit insufferable at the end. We will get into all of that. We're going to hear from Andy Reid. We're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes. We'll talk a little Royals baseball. David Lesky is going to join us to talk a little Royals baseball today. So a lot to get to there. One got to go. We'll talk with Tim Fitzgerald on all things K-State. So a lot to get to today here on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. It is just a two-man crew today. Myself, Jake LeBon, along with Dan Lucero with you. Brendan right now is driving up to Maryville, and he is going to be calling the Ichabods taking on the Bearcats of Northwest Missouri men's and women's action in the boat arc, if you will. Call it the arc because it looks like you're inside a boat hole with all the wood and everything. Don't like the gym. There's as many bars going across. The whole entire thing is terrible. Get a new gym.
Looks like Northwest. A child's erector set.
Yeah, yes, it really does. So myself and Dan got you today. And as always, we want to know your thoughts. Hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. Also, check us out on our YouTube page. It's real easy to get to. You go to youtube.com, type in 580 Sports Talk. That's simple. Then you click on it, click on the image, and it'll pop up, and you can subscribe to it. Hit the like button. You can interact with us if you want. Should be a lot of fun today as we're going to hear from Travis Kelce as well. And that is what we are going to start with today, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. And is this the time where they turn into the nobody believes in us now? All right? Because Travis Kelce's podcast with his brother Jason, it's called New Heights. Great podcast. I listen to it every week because I think both of them are kind of fun, and they talk about a lot of different things. It's kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
Both two big personalities. But also it just so happens that one of them plays on my favorite team, and he's one of the greatest players to play the game. And Travis Kelce and his brother Jason, both going to be Hall of Famers. But you can tell because of what occurred in the post game with Patrick Mahomes getting upset after the game. Has since apologized. We're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes today. He mentions that again. You know, I lost my cool. I can't do that. But also today, Travis Kelce on his podcast said a lot of things about the current team, the situation, and what's happening. And right now they're 8-5, 1 game back, or no, 2 games back. They're 2 games back. 2 games back of the number 1 seed. They're a game back of the number 2 seed. And to be honest with you, I think they're going to get the number 2 seed as long as they win out, for sure. But it's kind of already starting to whereas maybe this is, I don't want to say rock bottom, but this is the point where there's so much negative energy towards the Chiefs. And did you see the caricature in the Buffalo Bills paper of Patrick Mahomes in a diaper and money falling out, crying, you know, acting like a baby and all that?
We'll talk more about my broader thoughts on that when we'll hear from Mahomes in the 3 o'clock hour. Yeah. I have some broader thoughts on that.
So I think this might be kind of the
tipping point.
You know what? This is us against the world. You know, nobody believes in us. We're going to have to do it ourselves. Everybody else thinks that we stink and we can't overcome it. You know what? Forget that. Forget it. And Travis Kelce did not use the word forget, okay? He used a different word that I had to edit a lot.
Starts with the same letter.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So, and I do wonder this. I do wonder if this isn't the time where the Kansas City Chiefs focus does start to increase, because there's nothing like a chip on your shoulder. There's nothing like you want to be the underdog, like the underdog mentality, us against the world. You know, they hate that, you know, the kind of the opposite of, you know, they hate us because they ain't us. Well, everybody else writing us off, right? You know, remember that time when when Julian Edelman and the Patriots went to the Super Bowl, and they're like, nobody thought we could do this. And we're all like, bro.
You do it all the time.
No one is surprised you're there.
Yeah, great teams, even the teams that are wire to wire considered great, are able to play that card, even if it doesn't make much sense. Like last year, the Georgia Bulldogs, wire to wire #1 team in the country, after they beat TCU by 1 billion points in the playoff championship, we're talking about, people thought we were going to fall off. Nobody thought you were going to fall off. Literally no one thought this. You were like the unanimous #1 for the bulk of the season. What are you talking about?
No.
But the great teams, they're able to stir that up. And we have seen, because the Chiefs have hardly been in a position since Patrick Mahomes took the reins at starting quarterback to play the underdog card, to play the disrespect, no one believes in us card. Maybe in a game here or there, they got to play that card. I think they played it last year in the AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl.
I think they played it all year long last year. All year long. I think the offense did. You want to know why? The card of,
we don't have Tyreek Hill, so nobody thinks. No, that's a great argument.
There were a lot of people who said that, like, this offense isn't going to be the same. A lot of people. So I think they played that card all year long.
You know as well as I do, Jake, and everybody listening to this knows this as well, that one of the most powerful motivating factors in the world is spite. You think I can't? I'll show you. And there are not a lot of people who think like the greatest athletes in the world, who are professional athletes. There are not a lot of people who say, you can't do it. Nobody has been telling them, like, even Steph Curry, son of an NBA player, lottery pick, has a whole documentary about himself called Underrated, I think is what it's called. Like, bro, you were a lottery pick. You come from NBA stock. What do you mean people didn't believe in you? The greatest athletes of them all are able to take any kind of slight, whether real or even just perceived, and turn it into something that motivates them.
And I think maybe that's what you're going to start seeing. And Travis Kelce spoke very colorfully. Had to edit a whole bunch of this. So imagine a whole bunch of, and I just took out the swear words. I wasn't trying to, bleep them and all that kind of stuff. So, but this is what Travis Kelce today on his podcast had to say about the Chiefs offense right now.
Another low scoring game for us, man. I think our defense is playing their asses off all year, man. We're not rolling like we have been in the past, man. And I know there's a lot of media pointing fingers at some of the skill players that we have. And excuse my language, we usually cuss in lighthearted ways, but this is I felt like you guys had to feel that. Whoever's talking on the skill players in our offense right now, man. It's this is a group effort. And when you turn the film on, what's real is that we got guys that can play this game. And we got guys that we can have success with and win championships with. I know it. I've been on championship caliber teams. When you watch the film, penalties in critical moments, turnovers in critical moments, and it's everybody. It's not one guy. It's everybody's getting a piece of the pie. And yeah, it's frustrating. But at the same time, we know a lot of it is self-inflicted.
The players know it. And if Travis Kelce's saying this, we know that he's saying this to his teammates.
Yeah.
A little bit differently, obviously, but the problem, is not diagnosing the problem. Oh, what's the issue? We all know the issue, okay? Here's what Travis Kelce had to say about fixing the issue.
And we know that, moving forward, it can be fixed, and we have the guys to be able to get it fixed. And it kind of sounds like a broken record at this point, but I don't give a damn. It's my livelihood. It's to keep this kind of mentality throughout the season. We're 8-5 amongst the top of the AFC, and this year we're battling our tail off, and we're figuring out what kind of team we are in a different way than we have in the past. All this that I hear in the media right now about who the Chiefs are, it's only building that beast that we've been trying to create this entire year, and it's only going to keep making us better and better, going through these learning experiences and going through these tough games. In years past, we found ways to win these games. And I think that this year we're finding ways to keep getting better every single week. At the end of the day, it just takes a lot of focus, man. A lot of focus on the right things, just being accountable for the guy next to you, an executing job, man. And I'll be the first one to say I got to play better. And I know, the game ended however it wanted to with the play that I made, which I'm sure we'll get to. But I just wanted to make sure that Chiefs Kingdom, everybody knows that we have everybody we need right here, and we're going to get it fixed, man.
So that's
sounds like Andy Reid.
Yeah.
In that Andy Reid, every time they lose a game, we hear Andy Reid say, "We'll get that fixed."
So and he mentions
take on the attitudes and the habits of your head coach.
And you got a player who, for pretty much the entire year, Travis Kelce hasn't, he's had a couple drops this year, but, one big key fumble. But that's been pretty much it when it comes to Travis Kelce. Now, he gets into a little bit more specifics, and this is where I say this is the time where maybe you start to see a little bit of us against the world mentality. Here is what he had to say about Kadarius Toney, otherwise known as KT.
I went up to KT today, man. I told him, I was like, man, we had that place rocking. I was like, hey, man, we just have to do it again, big dog. I love KT. If we get the opportunity again, I'm going to throw that shit right into his chest again. He's one of the best players we got with the ball in his hands. You turn on the film, you watch what he does when the ball's in his hands. Everybody hating on KT right now, me with it. I'm trusting in 1-9 every time he's out there on the field.
So this is where you start to see, hey, I think he's going to find a way to do it. I think he's going to find a way to do it. Having your teammates back. Very evident there from Travis Kelce. I'm not saying that he is not electric when he gets the football.
Nobody can deny Kadarius Toney's talent.
He is. He can move. He can scoot. The problem is everything up to that point. One, is he going to play because of health issues? Will he do the right route? Will he line up the correct way? Will he catch the ball? Maybe that's why you're seeing him get the ball handed off to him. And it's just like, hey, now you got it. Go do something with it. I think that's something there. Travis Kelce also mentioned about, hey, you know what? This team, we're playing as a group.
Everybody's just sticking up for each other, man. And that's all I give a damn about. If they get fined for what they said, okay, but at least the guys in this locker room know that we got their back, and we're all in this thing together moving forward, man. And we put our hearts in it, man. You're not seeing guys just coming in and clocking in and out for a paycheck, man. You got guys that actually give a damn, not only about the wins and losses, but the livelihoods of each individual in that building, man. And this is only going to make us, that much want to play harder, that much more for each other.
That jump edit made it sound like he said we put our farts in it.
Yeah, he put something puts expletive in it.
Leaping hearts.
Yep. And that's why I think this might be the thing that brings everybody together. Because, we have said this so many times, what the Chiefs do is fixable. Can you learn to line up? Yes. Can you learn to catch the ball better? Yes. Can you learn to have more of a focus on not fumbling the football? Yes. The question is, are you able to make that change over the course of a season? Well, for the better part of 75% of the season, the answer is no. Odds are they won't be able to. Because data, history this year says that. But
go ahead.
But correctable things and simple attention to detail things are the easiest things to change instead of scheme, instead of talent, instead of actual on the field. Like for instance, you can't change Sky Moore. You can't change that he can get open. You can't do it. You can't change that, MVS is probably going to drop passes here and there. You can't change that. But can you change lining up properly? Can you change how you hold on to the football? Yes, you can. Certain things you cannot change. Turning Sky Moore into DeAndre Hopkins, that ain't going to happen. Right? But can you do the other things? Holding on to the football, the little things that really cause the penalty aspects of it. being a little bit more fundamentally sound. Yes, you can. That is why, to me, there is still a chance that they will fix it. And if they do, that's a huge credit to the Chiefs. Odds are I don't think they will. And so the odds are I don't think that they can change everything. But the one thing that if they can change is just hold on to the football. Like, even catching the football to a point where you can only become as good a pass catcher as you view. Like, MVS is not going to change overnight when it comes to his hands and him tracking the ball and Sky Moore all of a sudden getting open on a route. But the penalties, the fundamentals, and just not turning it over. Like Patrick Mahomes, you know what? And if Pat's got to be a little bit gun shy the rest of the way, so be it. Because if he doesn't make that throw in the game where he just threw it right to
A.J.
Epinesa, like, I mean, it was like right. It would be like me throwing it to you, like, oh, I think I can get it over his head. Like, no, he's a 6'4" defensive end who's athletic as hell. Of course he's going to jump up there. They can stop that. And if they stop that is an extra 7 points a game, Dan. If they don't turn it over, just add 7 points to their final score, whether it be a touchdown or a field goal. If you do not turn it over, add 7 points to the Chiefs and tell me what their record is. Their record, they would
be 12-1.
They would only lose one game.
Yeah, they lost by 8, but still, one score to Green Bay. Put another way, have you walked away from any of the 5 Chief losses this year? Because there's a difference between saying, hey, they were better than us today, or they're better than us.
Well, no, I agree. That's kind of like what Jason Kelce said. He goes, you're in a different situation. You guys are beating yourselves. We're just getting our butts kicked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Eagles got their butts kicked against 2 teams.
Yes, back-to-back wins.
Back-to-back games. Like, there's the difference. He goes, we're getting blown out. You guys are losing close games. There's the difference.
Yes, because close games are won on the margin, won and lost on the margin. And the Chiefs, unfortunately, have been finding ways all season to lose these games on the margins, where if they make those, like you said, marginal fixes, line up properly, pay attention to the balls about to hit you in the hands, make that catch, keep the drive moving, take care of the football. Those things would go a long way towards shifting the marginal advantages back to the Chiefs, because they do not have, and it's very rare, I think, that a team has such a talent advantage that they can make mistakes and mess around and still go 14-3 or 15-2. Like, it's not how the NFL is engineered. And the Chiefs don't have that level of talent that's so far ahead of their competition. But I have not even the Denver game where they turned the ball over 5 times, I didn't leave thinking, man, Kansas City doesn't have as many good players as Denver. No, they played worse. They made more mistakes, and that is why they lost. Yep. If you make fewer mistakes, you're going to win a lot more football games. And some of them, like you said, they are correctable. Maybe we can't turn Marquez Valdez-Scantling into Jerry Rice. That's a skill issue, right? I mean, we can't even turn him into Rashee Rice. That'd be nice to have 2 Rashee Rices right about now.
Great.
Just one more guy who could win a one-on-one isn't an airhead, right? And how much different this Chiefs offense would look. Just one more guy. You can't do that. Anything about the skill issue, the talent issue. But, you throw him a quick 6-yard out, and if he's paying attention, he's not sloppy with his fundamentals, watch the ball into your hands. Take the 6 yards. Cover up the ball. Don't fumble it if you're Rashee Rice, or, MVS had a costly fumble in that Denver game I was talking about. Those little things that rescue a possession, that make 2nd or 3rd down that much easier to convert. Like, the pieces are there. And that is why I think this season has been so frustrating. Because I think it is one thing to say, man, we're not as good as Buffalo, or we're not as good as Cincinnati, or we're not as good as, Detroit or whatever. But I have not left a single Chiefs game this year feeling like the Chiefs lost that game because they weren't as good a football team.
Last Kelce clip I want to get to. It's such a good point, and not many people have brought this up. Everybody's talking about the offsides. But here's what Travis Kelce had to say about, guys, let's take away that penalty, okay? What do we have?
We've been in a lot of close games, and we got to find ways to win no matter what. I'm more pissed off at how I ran my route after that, on the 4th and 15.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
I was more pissed that we still had 2 timeouts. You were second and 15 after that play with plenty of time. For 30 seconds, 40 seconds left. That is a lot of time to put up a field goal. That is a lot of time to get into the red zone. That is, yes. And that was what we harp on when we rewatch film, when we're looking at it, when Coach Nagy's standing up in front of the offense talking about how we're going to fix this problem.
Yeah.
What's real? What's real is we still had a chance.
It's Brennan's not here with the Cubs and everything, but when Moises Alou and Bartman and all that, okay, it didn't count. Guess what? It's a strike.
Mm-hmm.
Field the ground ball right afterwards. Hey,
turn the double play.
Hey, you have 2 downs to get 15 yards. And that's another thing that we can talk about with Andy Reid's like, hey, Big Red, Becky, you had 3 downs to get 15 yards.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We don't need to throw a 15-yard play here.
Yeah.
Throw a 5-yard route, throw a 7-yard route. Now it's 3rd down and 9.
Maybe because they burned a timeout before the 4th down, maybe call a timeout after that. Maybe that would have been a time to settle things down, because I think it was James Palmer from the NFL Network who was on there. They have that Insiders show that is on like the NFL channel on like Pluto TV or all those, over the top streaming cable type services. It was part of NFL Network's programming. And James Palmer said he was down on that sideline and that game was over as soon as that penalty was called, because the Chiefs just, they did not regain their composure. And it was obviously pretty evident when you saw the way that Patrick Mahomes reacted. Again, it is extremely rare for the Chiefs to have reacted that way. And it shows you how much frustration has bubbled over this season with their struggles, with the mistakes that they can continue to make. But that's a thing where, okay, we've been through that. Next time we got to take a deep breath and go to the next play. That's correctable. That you can fix. 2nd and 15.
You got 3 downs to get 15 yards and a team is going to be playing a little bit soft. You need to do that. Gain 5 yards. And that's the one thing now that Andy Reid has taken out the, you can hand the ball off on 3rd and short and that's okay. I really do wish coaches were more firm in their decisions of, hey, in this situation, it's 4-down territory. So call the game like that. In that situation, it's 2nd and 15, hey, we got 3 downs to get 15 yards. We're not getting it all in one shot, get some on 2nd down, get some on 3rd down and gradually, or, if you're in the red zone, right, if it's 1st and 10 at the 17-yard line, know this, I'm going for it as long as we don't get a penalty or we're really behind the sticks. 1st and 10, you run it, you get, 4 yards. Maybe you run it again, you get another 3 yards. Maybe you run it again. Oh, wait, we got the first. Know the fact that you're going to go for it from 1st down, I think, is such a huge benefit.
One other thing before we go to break here, I thought it was interesting to hear Kelce in that last clip we played talk about how he wasn't happy with the way he ran his route on 4th down, because we have a comment in from Goober Train here on the YouTube comment talking about Jawan Taylor. Broader point about Jawan Taylor here, but the penalty's been rough. He's been being beaten more. If 15 had a half beat longer on the final play, he nails Kelce in stride. That was the point that Tony Romo made on the CBS broadcast, that pass rush off of Taylor's side was just disruptive enough that Mahomes maybe got under that throw just a little bit and it sailed on him rather than being a dart. But also there were like 3 guys within 5 yards of each other on that play, which was weird in and of itself. But again, maybe that's a symptom of not running the route properly. So we talked coming out of Monday about this team needs to show some accountability. You're seeing it. You're seeing everybody saying, hey, I've got to be better. And if they can rally behind that and behind each other, I think that does go a long way. You've been in football locker rooms. You know how valuable that is.
Coming up, we're going to hear from Big Red, talk a little Royals, get to plenty of discussion here. We'll talk with David Lesky in the 3 o'clock hour, talk with Tim Fitzgerald in the 4 o'clock hour, all that coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Back in on 580 Sports Talk. Jake LeBon, Dan Lucero with you. Let us know your thoughts on our text line, 785-272-9429. But it's time to hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. But this is what Andy Reid had to say to the media today.
Injuries go for today. We've got a couple guys that are under the weather, Leo and Mike Edwards. Pacheco is still working on that shoulder, and Donovan with the neck stingers. So those guys won't go today. Everybody else will be in there rolling. Look forward to the challenge of playing the Patriots. Good football team, well coached, play hard. Bill Belichick is arguably the greatest coach to have coached in the National Football League. He proves it every year. You can see the improvements that they've made this year with a young group and the things that they're doing now. Their defense is playing outstanding football right now. So, and then Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator. Steve's following right in his dad's footsteps, is doing a heck of a job as a defense coordinator. So, we brought the guys in yesterday, and they understand that all our focus is straight ahead on the Patriots, and every day that we have to practice against them and for this game is important. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
Andy, is that any different than a normal week to bring them in and try to stress that point, like moving forward?
No, listen. I felt it after the game, so they know the importance of it. So,
and what might you be able to share? Anything particular you do to try to make that reset? Anything you say in particular?
Yeah, really, Brian. There's nothing that needs to be said. It's what's real in front of you. So, you just got to, and then you need to maximize your time with this. So, they do enough stuff offensively that you better be on your toes, and defensively, they do a lot of stuff. I mean, this is a Belichick defense, and they're going to give you a ton of different looks, and it's going to be tapered for your offense. So,
with Kadarius, what's the kind of coaching point as far as that goes? I mean, is there an emphasis on, obviously you want to follow him about making sure that it looks like he's on the line, but is there just also
we just talked
love you
about
up?
Yeah, he's in a good place. So it's not things happen. So you learn from it and you move on, and that's where we're at.
Andy, with the end of the game, what's the just level of frustration?
Yeah, we're not there. We're moving on. That's where we're at. It's happened. Done. Got to go.
When you've been around the guys this week, you're sensing that they have moved on and they get the task at hand. How happy does that make you feel that didn't take a whole lot of pride in getting them there?
Yeah, I felt that way even towards, the end of their little bit in the locker room. When I got done with you guys and came back, they're going forward. So.
It's been a while since you've had to play without Pacheco. What do you feel like you guys are missing, maybe when he's not in the lineup?
Yeah, well, that's a tough question because no matter how I answer it, it makes somebody not look good. So we love Pacheco and we love his energy. But at the same time, Clyde and McKinnon, I thought, did a tremendous job in there. So I don't want to slight any of them, because they're playing well and they all bring energy in their own way.
Andy, what do you think of just the way L'Jarius has played really throughout the whole season, but particularly in those games where you guys ask him to cover top receivers?
Yeah, he's played at a very, very high level. And we've asked him to play against the best. And he rises up to it. You never take it for granted, but you sure know that he's a competitor that way and steps up when needed.
This was the most last game that we saw Richie, about 85% of the snaps. What did you take away from him get a full game there?
Yeah, he's getting better. And And so that's one of the positives you can take out of the game. I mean, really, the last few weeks. So every opportunity he gets, he's making progress.
And with the offense, is there a particular game like situation or scenario you want to sort of emphasize more or stress more this week compared to what you guys have sort of seen over this?
The obvious, Nate, is that we've got to start better both sides of the ball, and we've got to finish stronger both sides of the ball. I mean, that if you're, which isn't, that's pretty obvious. So, but those are things that our guys understand.
Is there something throughout your 25 years that you sort of lean back on if team needs to start better or team needs to sort of finish better in one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you the first 15. You want?
You have your look at
yeah. So I mean, there are things that you can, you think through and.
You got a longer look at Wanya Morris, just what you're seeing from him?
Yeah, I thought Wanya did a nice job. You can really tell the athletic ability and strength. And there's some things he's got to learn, obviously. But he wasn't fazed by the whole scene. He got in there, did his thing. There are a couple of things he's coming out that he's got to work on, and he'll do that. But I was happy with what I saw there. Yeah.
Andy, with how dramatic the last game ended, how much does diving back into the details, diving back into the routine, how much does that help move forward?
Yeah, well, I think it's important in this league. I mean, that's how things go in this league. I mean, it's week to week, and you better be able to get over it and get going. And I'm lucky to have some guys that feel that way. Let's go. So that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Andy, you obviously have great respect for every opponent, but I wonder how much sort of Bill's past, Bill's pedigree tells you that it's easy to get guys motivated to play it.
Yeah, listen, he's the best. I mean, he's a phenomenal coach, and so his guys are going to be ready. They're well coached and they play hard. So that, and it's a tribute to him and for how he goes about his business.
Coach, in basketball, you might have a no, yes when a guy makes a shot you think he shouldn't have taken. You have a little bit of a no, yes when Travis decides to throw the ball across the field in the middle of the play.
Well, listen, I see it every day in practice. So we do those things. I mean, yeah. So I mean, hey, the end result was good.
Couple more, guys.
Don't come back to the bench if it's not.
Kind of stemming off of Ahi's question, when you get a guy like Joe in here who had been in Bill's system, Joe Tooney, how noticeable maybe is the difference in the player when you get your hands on them, maybe someone that came from another system or draft pick, something like that?
Yeah, well, Joe's he's a Pro Bowl caliber player, so he was good for them, and he's been good for us, and he was well coached, for his time there. I put Brendan Daly. As a coach, he's in that thing too. Yeah. So.
If it doesn't work, Travis, don't come back to the sideline. What is he supposed to do then? Go to the locker room? Like, go sit on the other team's bench?
Take off both his shoes and one of his socks, like in the Royal Tenenbaums, just sit on the field?
I don't know. I am waiting for that, though, where the lateral becomes more of a play in the NFL.
Like, if it's amazing that was improvised because it worked so well.
Yeah. Like, that just goes to show you his headiness. Like, okay, here he is. This is Travis Kelce. We'll play it real quick since we're talking about that. Here's Travis Kelce on the actual play and what went through his mind. And this just goes to show you, man, that dude, everybody might think he's just a, big, dumb football player. Not the case.
Have you ever thrown that far of a lateral?
No.
You just whip that out on the spot.
On the spot.
It was like a perfect spiral. Like, how did you go from having it tucked to throwing a perfect spiral that fast?
Dude, it was such a bang, bang. Like, I caught it, turned upfield, saw the single high safety coming down, knew I had broke the contain angle of the guy chasing me. When I made the safety that was coming down to try and tackle, when I broke his angle, I knew it was 2-on-1. He's the only guy on that side of the field. I know KT was over there from the route he ran, saw him out of the corner of my eye in a lateral position, in a position where I knew if I could get him the ball, I knew he had space to score a touchdown.
What did Andy say when you got to the sideline?
I didn't talk to Coach Reid.
You didn't talk to him?
Dude.
But, like, so think about that. Like, that just goes to show you he thinks the game in slow-mo. Because, yeah, when I got past the first guy, I knew I got past that guy. There's only two other guys there. And the guy who was on the other side of the field where Kadarius Toney is going to do what every football player does and go towards the ball because no one thinks the pitch man. You don't think the lateral, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went there, and so then I knew I was like, oh, when I turned and saw him with the quarterback, I was like, there's nobody over there. All of that within like a half a second is going through his mind. And he threw a perfect pass. Like, it's like he threw a perfect spiral. Like, that wasn't a pitch. Like, like whenever I think of like laterals, I think of, the option. I think Tommy Frazier, I think running down the line and pitching it, that type of thing.
Yeah, that sidearm, like offhand pitch.
Like, right? No, man, that was a straight up throw the ball. Like, like the Boise State play, right? Against Oklahoma.
The hook and lateral, yeah.
Like, that was just a
little pitch.
Little shove. This was a full on, like,
you
had a pronate or supinate or whatever you do throwing the football.
I think you supinate when it's the football and you pronate when it's a baseball. Pronation is like this way, I think. Like this way.
I think it's pronate. Yeah, you got to pronate.
Is that what it is when you're
I don't know.
I was never very good at throwing a football. I'll be honest with you.
I just threw the
that was real entertaining for our YouTube viewers right now. The on-air audience, no idea what we're doing.
I'm trying to think here.
They hear our arms moving, jackets rustling next to the mic. No, the only analog I can come up with off the top of my head is the Music City Miracle. R.I.P. Frank Wycheck, who passed away this weekend. But
Frank Wycheck passed away this week?
You didn't see that?
No.
Yeah, he had a fall at his home. He was only 52.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the one who threw
I watched that play live.
Yeah, I remember watching
the
Music City Miracle. Yeah, I remember watching on TV, seeing Wycheck throw across to Kevin Dyson. Yeah. Probably not a lateral, but you know what?
It was close.
Yeah, it was very close.
It was more like down the line.
But that's the only analog I can think of. That or Jacoby Myers throwing the ball directly to Chandler Jones last year, losing game for the Patriots.
He got mushed. Who was the quarterback?
Oh, it was Mac Jones.
Just got mushed, bro. They should have known right then and there. You ain't that guy. You ain't that guy, pal. Yeah, it says you pronate your arm as you throw.
Okay.
Pronate, yeah. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little Royals baseball. Dan, what's the temperature of the stove?
Again, we're not quite to boiling.
Okay.
But the oil, like you put a little oil down, starting to cook off. It's getting, it's starting to cook off the oil, and it's starting to sizzle.
Now, is that for the Royals, or is that just baseball in general?
Oh, well, Shohei Ohtani getting $700 million set it to boil, like scalding, boiling lava.
Yeah, nationally, it's off. The house is burned down.
We got some big moves. Sounds like the Dodgers are going to trade for Tyler Glass now. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's close to making a decision. Probably going to be the Dodgers.
All right. Now, I am fully on board with the Dodgers being the Dodgers, and they don't get to the World Series.
They're going to go 158-4 and then get swept in 3 games by the 82 win Marlins.
Now, there's a little, Dan, I know you. I know you're all about the regular season means a lot, which I fully understand. But if the Dodgers go 130-32, seriously, okay? And they get swept by an 82-win team.
It will be the funniest thing that's
I
ever
would say
happened.
there will be a little bit of you that's like, yeah, that's really cool.
Dude,
that's really cool.
I hate the Dodgers, man.
Saying.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I hate them. I hate them with my whole life. If they choke, it's funny. If the Braves, who I don't have any real ill feelings toward, do it, it's a reason the playoffs are bad. It's like the old. Is this a Mel? I think it's a Mel Brooks line. That, tragedy is when I fall down an open manhole. Comedy is when you cut your finger and bleed to death.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's Mel Brooks, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But we got some experts weighing in on what the Royals have done.
Yeah, and we talked yesterday about the Seth Lugo signing, in case you missed that. That's not been made official yet. The Royals haven't tweeted about it, but 3 years, $45 million. It's really 2 years with an option for $15 million more. Can you name, because Brendan and I played this game yesterday, can you name the 3 Royals who have gotten higher total value free agent contracts from the team in franchise history? So 3 years, $45 million. So $45 million. Which 3 players in Royals franchise history have signed for more total money than that? Ian Kennedy, $70 million. Alex Gordon, $80 million.
Now, are you counting Salvador Perez?
No, wasn't a free agent. That was a contract extension.
Now, I don't know because he returned some of the money. It was Gil Mesh signed
Gil Mesh, 55.
But he didn't. Remember, he didn't play the last year of his deal.
So he returned the final year.
And he returned the money.
But he signed for 55. So, he's the correct answer
so I got all 3 of them.
To the question. Anyhow, Seth Lugo has signed. Chris Stratton, also veteran reliever, has signed. Will Smith signed previously, the left-handed reliever. Keith Law, bullish. He's the Athletics baseball guy, and wrote this about the signing. The Lugo deal might overprice him a little, but both guys, him and Stratton, make the Royals better immediately. The major league team had to go outside the organization for even an average starter, and they landed one in Lugo, who gives them 2 such guys in their rotation, along with Reagan's. I had him pegged for more like 10 to 12 million a year, but I don't think 15 million is exorbitant, and he's as big an upgrade for the Royals as he would have been for any team. If he can give them 150 to 160 innings, he might be a 3-win improvement over whichever 5.50 ERA guy he's replacing.
Real quick, you mentioned, you got Cole Reagan, terrific year. If he does the same thing this year as he did last year, Lugo does the same thing he did last year as this year. If Brady Singer can go back to 2022, that's 3 guys with sub 3.3 ERA. That'll play. Singer's such a big deal for this team.
Yeah, they need him. They need him to rebound. Absolutely. Law's conclusion, when he takes into account the Stratton and Smith signings as well, the bullpen is already better than it was last year. I won't pretend these moves make the Royals a contender, but they are already more competitive than they were a month ago. A little more bearish, Bradford Doolittle of ESPN giving the signing of Lugo a C+, saying there's not much upside in these signings, but if the vets can raise the floor, then the Royals can cross their fingers that the youth on their roster can progress as a group to pull them in the right direction towards 500. In the end, though, you have to at least give the Royals credit for doing something. It feels meek in the wake of the Ohtani earthquake, but it's still better than nothing. That's the big deal, raising the floor. Jordan Lyles did not meaningfully raise the floor when the Royals signed him last year. This signing raises the floor. One clip I want to play. This is from the Foul Territory podcast. The voices you're going to hear are MLB reporter Ken Rosenthal and the host of the show, AJ Przinsky. Apparently, he's hosting a podcast these days, former Major League catcher and Royal Pain in the you-know-what. They're talking about the Royals' broader strategy this offseason. And Ken Rosenthal had something interesting to say.
They have a stadium vote coming up. Is it coincidence that they signed Lugo, they signed Will Smith, who's won 3 World Series in a row on 3 different teams, so the Royals are clearly the World Series favorite right now, and then they're trying to sign Bobby Witt. So are they doing this not only to appease fans, but also to maybe put a little pressure on the local government there to pass that new stadium and show they're willing to spend if they get the right resources?
AJ, my guess is it's probably a little bit of both. They have not been good for several years. They want to be better. They're trying to improve. That's the baseball end of it. But the part you spoke about, trying to show the city and the local government that you're serious about winning with a stadium project kind of in the works, yes, I'm sure that is part of the logic as well. And we will see that to a greater extent in their talks about an extension with Bobby Witt Jr. They want to get that done. They've talked about that, and Witt Jr. would be kind of the centerpiece of this campaign. Hey, we're here. We're the Royals. We've got Bobby Witt Jr. Let's go with the new ballpark and see what we can do. It all plays into it, right? But at the same time, they need to get better. They need veteran starting pitchers, for goodness sake. They need relievers who are veterans like Will Smith as well. So I don't know that these moves would not have happened without the stadium thing hanging over them, but the stadium part of it certainly is an added motivation.
This is what we asked, right? Like we said, Royals, if you're going to come hat in hand asking the people of Jackson County or Clay County to build you a stadium, put a good team in it first. And if they're serious about it, if they're serious about making a dramatic improvement, if they're serious about keeping Bobby Witt Jr. around long-term with a meaningful sized contract extension, I will give them credit where it's due. Yeah. 100%. This is what you have to do. At the end of the day, your baseball team, you might look at it if you're an owner as a real estate tenant, but it's an entertainment product.
Oh, for sure.
And 56 and 106 ain't all that entertaining.
If you build it, they will come. Hey, Royals. Hey, John Sherman. If you build a winner, fans will follow. We saw that in 14 and 15.
Yeah.
Saw that in 14 and 15. That's interesting there. We got a lot more to get to. We got one got to go. We'll talk with David Lesky, and we'll hear from Patrick Mahomes coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. 2, 580 Sports Talk coming to you on this Wednesday. Jake LeBon, Dan Lucero with you. Brandon Jorzinski on his way to Maryville, Missouri for some Washburn hoops on our sister station, Classic Country 106.9. We're going to talk with David Lesky on all things Royals baseball as the stove is heating up.
Talk a little baseball in December. Love that for us. Never a bad time.
Do you think they signed Stroman?
I think it's possible. Did you see he put the Kansas State motto on his Instagram story last night?
It's positive.
Yeah, he got it a little backwards.
Yeah.
He tweeted. He didn't tweet, but he had just a black background with white text. Per aspera ad astra, like close enough. You would think, maybe that's a tea leaf.
Yeah,
it would be a big sign. I think it'd be such a good fit. Like if the Royals, and they do, have the 20 to 22 million a year, that's probably going to be the sweet spot for Stroman for the next 3 years. Give it to him, man. Him with that power sinker with Bobby Witt and Maikel Garcia and Michael Massey behind him. Yeah, man, that's the good stuff.
A lot of double plays.
That's
baby.
A lot of worm burners. That's a lot of 6-pitch innings.
I'm all right with that.
He brings some juice to the clubhouse, too. Like, he's a guy, he gets fired up. He's got some energy when he pitches. He's got a little swagger to him.
I'm on board.
I'm all for it.
It's almost enough for me to be excited.
Almost.
Yeah, almost. I'll be excited if June 1st rolls around and they're 500. That's what's going to get me excited.
Okay.
Coming up, though, we got...
Your bar is higher than a lot of people. I know your old pal, your former co-host, Fulton Castor, would say...
He's drunk. He's already drunk on the Royal Kool-Aid, man.
They'd take a 1-0 lead in the second inning on opening day. He'd be like, what time do I need to take off work in October to go to the playoffs?
I love that guy.
How much are World Series tickets? He's Googling it. And look, I can relate because I am the exact same way.
I'm not.
I only know...
They wore me down, man.
I only know incredible optimism and then immediately following rank despair.
Coming up, we got one got to go, and we'll talk with David Lesky. We'll get to all that today. But right now, we're going to hear from the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes spoke to the media today, addressed some of the other comments that he made, on Sunday. Last time that he spoke to the media officially. Has gone on a couple different, radio shows and all of that. But here is what Patrick Mahomes had to say to the media today.
How you doing? Good.
Patrick, you got a change of heart about some of the things you said and did after the game. Why? I mean, did you feel like it was emotion talking at that time, or do you have a change of heart about how you felt about it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely emotion talking when I was talking to Josh at midfield. Just to lose the football game, a tough football game in a tough way. But I let it go on too long because, I mean, like I said, he had nothing to do with it. And so just show better sportsmanship and tell him great game and kind of keep it moving.
Coach just said you guys came in on Tuesday. Was there a special something out of that you got to carry on and look forward to this week?
I mean, I think once the game was over and you kind of got to sleep and came back on that Monday, Tuesday, I think everybody's mind was in the right spot. I mean, in this league, you kind of have to move past that stuff. And we're going to play a great football team that plays extremely hard and is playing great, better football right now than they've played all season long. So it's going to be a great test for us and a great challenge. And so I think guys' heads are in the right spot.
Patrick, calls aside, when it comes to in-game situations, what are you seeing on the tape that you guys can try to improve upon and just execute better?
Yeah, I mean, there's just little things here and there, but little things are how you lose football games, and we'll continue to emphasize those and try to practice even better than we've done all year long, and try to be better this next week. And this is a great challenge for us. Their defense is playing really, really good football. So offensively, we're going to have to execute at a high level in order to have some success.
Patrick, you reached out to Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to Josh a lot, so we're all good. But I'll keep those conversations to ourselves.
Patrick, do you feel like you're at a little different kind of crossroads than maybe you've been at before this late in the season, a couple losses in a row, some little controversy? I mean, is it a harder challenge to reset in some way or an easier challenge to reset?
I mean, I don't know yet. I mean, all I can do is go about business like I do every single week and try to get better and better and play the best football I can for this upcoming week. And so the division is tight. The AFC is tight. We have to just go out there and play our best football and try to get better this week and try to find a way to get a win.
Do you have any concern? You got to bring the team together, or is there any worry at all that guys are maybe just frustrated and not as locked in because of the way things are going?
Not that I know of. I mean, at practice, what we used to walk through, that looked great. I thought guys were really locked in. We're about to go out and have practice. But, I mean, guys' heads are in the right spot. I mean, everybody knows that if we can correct the minor details, that we can win some of these football games that we've been in to the very end. But we have to go out there and prove it. We have to go out there and correct them. And so I think guys are just trying to do that at practice today, and then we're going to try to do it again the next day.
Patrick, you talk about those minor details. Some of the past, like you said, and some of the things they talked about, Edie, how he pushed you guys and held you guys accountable. Who's the coach here that does that now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of guys. I mean, I think Coach Bieniemy set that standard when he was here, and I think you can see those lingering effects of the other coaches who have coached underneath EB, and then Coach Nags is, I mean, obviously coached with EB, been the offense coordinator before, and QB coach last year. So, I mean, we hold each other accountable. The coaches hold us accountable. But obviously, we've made some mistakes that we don't typically make, and we're going to try to correct those as quickly as possible.
Patrick, have you had a chance to check in with Kadarius this week, and what was your message to him and all the receivers concerning just kind of flipping this script the last stretch of the season?
Yeah, I mean, all the receivers know I believe in them. That's just kind of how I roll. If you're in this locker room and I see how hard you work, I'm going to trust in you in big moments, and I'm going to give you chances to go out there and make plays. And for everything I know, their mindset seems like it's in a good spot, and they just want to go out there and continue to get better and better. And I can see that by how hard they're working out here. I feel like as we can just continue to push through the grind, that we'll end up on the other side of it as the season goes on.
What was your message to Kadarius?
Just be you, man. I mean, that's all you can do in life or in this league. I mean, you're going to make mistakes. I mean, stuff's going to happen in your life. How do you accept that adversity and get past it and do it the right way? And Coach Reid preaches that, and that's how I roll. I mean, you make one mistake, that's not going to define you. It's going to be how you respond to that mistake.
With your status as a leader on the team, do you feel it's more important to be a leader this week from a verbal standpoint, or from just your actions and how you're trying to, move forward as a group together?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always actions are first for me. I mean, you have to prove that you're doing things the right way in order to be able to say anything. And I think if you come in the building every single day and work your butt off and you show that you really truly care, then when you use your words, they mean more. It's not just words. It means that they know that you care, and that's how I've always rolled. And it might not be yelling or screaming or whatever it is, but they know that I care about this thing, and I'm going to use my voice whenever it's needed.
You said before that you've always enjoyed playing against a Belichick-type defense because there is so many variations to what they can present you. Is there something about them that forces you to concentrate on even more things than like the average game plan going forward?
I think they do a great job of making everything look very similar, but doing little things here and there to change it up. That's where they do in trouble at the quarterback position. He knows tendencies. He's going to really break it down, what you do well, and try to take that away. And even if they play a coverage and the rules say it might need to play it this way, he's going to adjust it just enough to affect where you want to go as a quarterback position. And so it's a great challenge for you. And I think that's why you see the young quarterbacks, especially like I was early in my career, you have trouble, and even veteran quarterbacks, because you think you know where to go with the ball before the snap, but he makes those adjustments week in and week out to take those away and make you get through your progressions and be perfect every play. So it'll be a great challenge, obviously for the offense, but for me especially.
The last couple, Saran and Todd.
Patrick, 6 years as a starter, we've never had a time where you came and said, "Hey, I need to apologize." Or that's a lot of pressure to be the face of the franchise. You were like 22, I think, when you started. Like, you feel that pressure? Is that something that weighs on you to carry yourself a certain way and act a certain way all the time, be in front of the camera all the time?
I think that's just that's not necessarily pressure of being the franchise. This is pressure of being a good person. I mean, I try to act in a way that I'm a good role model because I looked up to guys that were on this stage ever since I was a little kid running through the locker room. So I'm just trying to be a good person, and obviously I care. So my emotions were shown on the football field, which they've been shown in good ways, and obviously that wasn't a good way. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to be the best person that I can be. The face of the franchise, NFL stuff, that's going to come and go. But if I can show the person I am every single day, and that's an example, that's what I want to do when my career is over.
You mentioned getting ready for a Bill Belichick defense and how he coaches. Your very first game, you weren't playing, was opening in 17. Mm-hmm. How much more equipped are you now to be ready for that than maybe you would have been that very first day? And how much maybe has what he does changed over those years as you look forward?
Well, to answer your first question, I'm glad I wasn't playing that first day because that'd have been a tough test coming out the gates when they're dropping the banner and Alex was able to go out there and kind of do his thing and win that game. But yeah, I'm definitely more equipped now, just seeing a lot of different stuff. But I think the great thing about Coach Belichick and all those coaches is, I mean, he changes, but he stays the same, and he does different stuff. I mean, he does everything. He'll take stuff from he's done 10, 15 years ago and implement it into the game plan and the scheme that he runs now. And so he's got everything. And so it's your job as a quarterback to be able to adjust on the fly, put your team in the best position to have success, and not hurt your team. So it'll be a great challenge, like I said, and I'm excited to go out there and try to execute and try to find a way to win a football game.
Patrick Mahomes, QB1 for the Kansas City Chiefs. One thing that stood out there, and a lot of people are like, why are these guys, friends with opposing teams, quarterbacks and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's something to the fact that what Josh Allen is going through, Patrick Mahomes knows it. They're like kindred, spots, right? That's why I think a lot of these guys nowadays are more, I don't know, friends, but they're
friendlier.
They're connected more.
There's a kinship.
Yeah, because hey, Josh Allen gets it. He knows that Patrick Mahomes isn't, that type of guy. And that's why I think you see that a little bit more often, especially now with social media and all of that kind of stuff.
People talk about that like in relation to other sports, basketball specifically, like, these guys are too buddy. Yeah. Michael Jordan would never, and all that. And like the youth basketball AAU circuit, the youth sports circuit
changed everything.
It really did, because the elite of the elite, as like 10, 11, 12-year-olds even, generally those are the kids who end up making a real go at it in college and in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your kid is the 8th best player on the local YMCA team, sorry, they're probably not making it to the NFL. Like, that's probably not happening. But youth sports change that dynamic. So these guys that come into like the NBA in particular, I think that's where you really see it, the AAU circuit being so intertwined across the country, that those guys have known each other for a solid decade before they play in the NBA against each other. Youth baseball is a little bit similar. The travel baseball circuit is so unified across the country that you have that familiarity. Golf is another one. That's how those guys are so, such close friends, like Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth and Scotty Scheffler, all those guys. Football's a little different because there's not really like AAU football. Can you imagine? Like, we got to AAU tournament. We played 7 tackle football games in 2 days. There'd be a congressional investigation.
That'd be wild.
So the bond that those guys have is much more of a bond in they're going through the same things and they experience the same things as football players and as public figures.
Not going to throw any of his team under the bus. Like, that's just, hey, I got confidence in these guys. I think they can do it. Talks about going to, now he's played at Foxborough once before that 2017 game that he was there and Alex Smith played and that was Kareem Hunt went off and all that kind of stuff. So
season opener,
he's played there before, because I remember they got the win there. There was a big interception in the end zone that the Chiefs had. I don't remember who was the one who intercepted.
Is that 2019 regular season?
I don't remember, but I remember there was a big interception in the end zone that really helped out the Chiefs, because that was when they struggled early on maybe they played even twice there, because I remember the Gronk game when we had, remember Josh Shaw for the Chiefs was guarding Gronk on 4th and 5.
Vaguely.
And they just ran a corner route on Josh Shaw, who's more famously known for lying about jumping off of a balcony at UCLA. And he did it because he stole something instead of saved someone's life.
So that, 2019, they played.
It was 43-42.
Oh, it's 43-40. That was 2018. They lost 43-40.
Okay, yeah.
Gostowski made a field goal at the very end.
Yeah, that was when Josh Shaw was covering Rob Gronkowski in the most important play, and we're like, that's the guy. That was when we all knew that Bob Sutton was cooked.
The other time was 2019. They went out there in December, and the Chiefs won that game 23-16.
Yeah. Who intercepted the pass in the end zone?
I would love to tell you it was 4th and 3 at the 5, and Breeland batted a pass away from.
Maybe that was all it was Breeland batting a pass away.
Yeah, that was with a minute to go that would have tied the game. Yeah,
that's Bashad Breeland, man.
The other thing I want to say about Mahomes real quick is you could tell this week, starting Sunday night and into the rest of the week, people had been waiting for Mahomes to slip,
to crack.
Yep. And not just in the context of having a difficult season. They had been waiting to put something on him, because for years there hasn't been anything.
Nothing.
He's a cool customer. He does the right things. He says the right things. He's about the right things. And
the only thing they had was they would make fun of his brother and his wife.
That is why I really believe people go so hard at Brittany Mahomes, because there's nothing to really say.
There's no reason to go hard at her.
Yeah, there's
absolutely none.
Nothing to say about Patrick. And the instant that Patrick Mahomes shows the barest crack in the facade, brother, you would have thought that was the Broncos Super Bowl. The way I saw those clips from Broncos fans on my timeline and the memes on the timeline and that editorial cartoon in the Buffalo News or whatever it was. People have been waiting for Mahomes to show the barest crack in that facade. And he had one bad, and it was a bad moment. He did. He went over the top.
To me, was not a bad moment. That's in the moment. I don't care. It was the.
But even that was out of character, right? It was out of character. I remember we had a texter on Monday say he looked like Phillip Rivers, and it was very Phillip Riversian reaction, on-field reaction. But it stood in such stark contrast to everything we've ever seen from him before. That's why it stood out. And then the post-game press conference, he was like, all that stuff about Travis Kelce. Yeah, he was on 10. He needed to rein that back in. But people were excited to be able to say, we got to
knock people down.
We got a shot to take Mahomes down a peg.
I will say this, because I got one of my friends lives in the DC area. He sent me all the memes involving Patrick Mahomes. He knows that. He's like, what about your boy now? And I'm just like, dude, you think this bothers me, bro? And but he sends me the memes. Some of them are funny though.
Yeah, there were some good ones.
The one that really got me cracked up is Chad Kroeger from Nickelback, right? He holds up, the song Photograph,
right?
The
look at this photograph. Yeah.
Well,
he holds up that picture in the frame.
And the frame is the Tony lining up offsides, and then the song starts, look at this photograph. Every time it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Just okay, that's well done. If you can't, laugh at yourself as a Chiefs fan a little bit, remember, Chiefs fans, don't let that bother you. Don't let that bother you. They're doing it because you've been so successful.
Yes,
embrace it. Embrace the fact.
Remember how you felt about the Patriots for the better part of a decade and a half?
Yeah.
That's who you are now.
You ready? Here's how you respond. This is how I've responded to this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Every one of those I go, we'll talk in January. We'll talk in January. Because come January, if we're the 1 seed, then you can send every one of those memes back. Mm-hmm. Now you also have to understand, and this is where it's I can take it and I'll give it. I can do both. I'm not the guy who dishes it all out, and then when someone dishes it to you, they get all defensive.
Right.
They get all, all in their feelings and yell. No, I can take it. you got to be able to take a sort of climb back and be like, oh, let's talk in January, even pile it on more. But then you got to understand if January comes and we get bounced in the first round, by the Steelers or by the Texans, you're going to get it even more. But that's okay. Because if you win, if it does come back and you end up on the victory side,
nothing is sweeter.
Oh, nothing is sweeter. Then you just send him nothing but videos and memes of I like the back and forth. That's the difference. Like some people get all butt hurt and all that kind of stuff. Like, nah, man, have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus might have the greatest quote in the history of sports. It's a game. It ain't war. Okay. He was talking about golf. You're like, oh, you didn't win that. He's like, golf's a game. It's not war.
Right.
Okay. It's a game. All right. You've won 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. No other Chief fan in the history of the world has had this type of stretch.
These are the salad days.
Yes. That's why I said in 14 and 15, enjoy. That's why when I remember Blair Kirkhoff of the Kansas City Star was standing right next to me, right? We left the Overflow Media Game 7 World Series 2014. We stopped because we wanted to get down in, into the press room and everything, but we wanted to catch the last play, right?
Sure.
Salvador Perez up to bat, Gordon's at third,
Yeah.
And Blair and I are just standing next to each other. And then when the ball, when he hits it and the big fly ball, lands like between third and on foul ball.
Yeah.
Final
Perez,
play.
the final out. Yeah.
The final out. I wasn't upset. I wasn't because that was the most fun I've ever had in sports at that point in time being a fan. Enjoy this. Have some fun with it.
Because it is not permanent.
No.
It is not.
Look at the Royals.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Sometimes it is extremely fleeting, in fact.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we got One Gotta Go, and then we'll talk with David Lesky. Alrighty, one gotta go, Dan. We're gonna talk about the Christmas side of things, okay?
Okay.
One gotta go. All right. You gotta either literally get rid of, okay, the Christmas tree, the stocking, the Christmas lights, or gifts. One gotta go.
The stockings more and more are a bit of an afterthought.
Really?
Because I have not lived in a place with a chimney.
Okay.
Like, you do
Really?
did the apartment living thing for a while. Now my wife and I, our house doesn't have a chimney. But we hang stuff, like we hang all of that. But yeah, like when I was a kid, though, the stocking was a big deal. That was like the first thing you got to kind of crack into on Christmas morning.
Stocking. See, for me, stocking and Christmas tree have to happen. Like
it doesn't feel like Christmas without them displayed.
Yeah.
I feel that way about the lights. The
See,
tree and the lights.
I'd get rid of the lights despite the fact that my son loves the Christmas lights so much. But I will tell you this, them waking up and running out and getting their stockings, so cool. Like I could not get rid of a stocking right now. Zero chance.
Now I get that.
Yeah. So
I get that.
It's just different. But really, okay, I got you.
I mean,
I love that you're a big lights guy. That's awesome.
Yeah, I do.
I ain't getting rid of any of them.
No, absolutely not. No, it's just the stocking is maybe the least essential because I think about it being over the fireplace.
Gotcha.
I just never really had a
I got
fireplace.
you. No,
we hang them off the bar. We got a little bar area that you can kind of. It's like a little window basically between the kitchen and the living room, and we hang them in the living room off the bar, and then hope the cats don't knock them over.
Yeah, we don't have a chimney in our house. Do most newer builds have chimneys?
Ours isn't terribly new, but no, we don't have a chimney.
We don't have one either. Ours is we bought our house that was built in 2009.
Oh.
So no chimney.
Yeah. All right. I've got kinds of soup. It is it's winter. It's soup weather.
Is soup a meal?
Yes. Yes.
I think it depends on the size of the bowl.
Like you can have a side of soup, like soup and sandwich or soup and salad. But you can also have a big like bowl of soup.
But I think the size of the bowl matters the most. I'm interested in what 4 you're choosing here.
So 4 kinds of soup.
Okay.
I've got chicken noodle.
Okay.
Tomato.
Okay.
Pho.
I don't know what that is.
Chowder.
What'd you say?
Pho? Are you not familiar with pho? PHO?
Is that the soup that you get at the Japanese steakhouse?
It is. No, that's egg drop soup.
I like that.
Pho is Vietnamese, and it is a broth, and there are noodles and meat, and a lot of places you go, like you customize your pho, and you kind of like eat it yourself. You make it yourself, and you eat it. It can be have beef, it can have chicken, it can be spicy.
Okay, from the YouTube comments, pho is just ramen.
I mean, there are some similarities.
Here's the thing. You ready for this? Have you ever gone to a place that is you get like a ramen bowl?
I have not been to like the ramen restaurants. No,
those are so good.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the concept.
Love those.
Sounds like something I would enjoy.
Love those. I had the very first time I ever had a ramen bowl was like 6 years ago in Vegas at 3 a.m. Awesome. Now, granted, that was at 3 a.m. Vegas.
We have a vote for soup not being a meal on the
you
text
can
line for the
order a
785.
soup, but I think it depends on what, like,
man, like you get a big bowl of clam chowder.
I'm not a
some
clam
oyster
chowder
crackers.
Honestly, Dan, in that setting you there, I'd get rid of all of them but chicken noodle.
Wow.
I'm not a clam chowder, but I love a potato.
Like a potato soup?
Love a potato
maybe
soup.
a corn chowder with some potato in it, or a thick potato soup. My wife makes a really good just dump potato soup recipe.
Yeah, like I like a lobster bisque.
Okay, like a really so you like a thicker soup.
Yeah, I need like tomato soup. No, I don't like tomatoes. Chicken noodle, as long as it's got like the good noodle, the big noodle.
Yeah,
you want
you want a thicker.
Like Campbell's. I'm sorry, I grew up on you. You're trash now. Like little tiny little chicken, little cubes. No, man, I'm a Progresso guy right now. Big and meaty.
I'm not a tomato soup guy. That's the one that's out for me. I haven't had a lot of pho, but I've enjoyed it. Clam chowder is like my favorite soup. You ever get it
red or white?
White.
Okay.
You ever get it out of the bread bowl?
No, I'm not.
That's a culinary experience. You got to do it like on a cold summer morning in San Francisco. Go out to like Fisherman's Wharf and get a sourdough bread bowl full of clam chowder. That is delicious.
Yeah, soup is not a meal from the text line.
And then you leave the part of the bowl you don't eat because you eat the bowl because it tastes like the soup. And then the part you don't eat, you let the seagulls eat.
is
That's living.
I think it all depends on, well, it just depends on how much soup there is. Like, if you have a big bowl, that is a meal.
I think it is too. Like, you have a side with it. Like, salad is a side for the soup.
Yeah.
Sometimes soup can be a side.
The side,
yes.
you get a soup and sandwich.
Soup can be a side.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a Seinfeld episode, man. Isn't it with Banya, where Banya's like, no, I'll save my meal. And he was like, no, the soup was your meal. And Banya's like, no, soup's not a meal. He's like, that's your meal. Man, I love Seinfeld.
I like bean and bacon too. That might be my favorite of the Campbell's soups. The bean and bacon. Very simple, very tasty. Good with like some saltines. Yeah. I'm a big soup fan.
Yeah.
Question from the YouTube comments. Laramie asks if chili is a soup. That's like, is the square a rectangle or?
Well, is cereal soup?
No, that's nonsense. Do not ask me that question.
What is the difference between, like, now we're getting, real critical, like soup is anything with broth. Well, milk is not broth, but milk is a liquid that you put in there.
Like, chili's its own thing to me. Chili to me is chili.
Chili's is a hot dog a sandwich.
But like you could get, like I've been to like soup and salad bars where chili is one of these soups.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe it is.
Yeah.
It can be really delicious. I've had
love chili.
I've had chili I haven't loved, but I've had chili that I have loved.
Love
and
chili.
Good chili is really good.
Chili's fantastic.
Clayton says Pop-Tarts or ravioli. All right.
I love this discussion.
We're shutting down the studio.
Someone says on the text line, you don't cook cereal. There are some soups you don't cook.
Like borscht?
I'm trying to think, maybe. And so the definition of soup is you have to cook it.
I've never.
That's a legit that's a variable I didn't think about.
Is that the distinction?
Yeah,
I don't know. I've never looked up soup in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary to get the definition of soup. But no, cereal is not a soup.
Okay, depends on how you view it. Coming up next, we're going to talk all things. We are going to ask David the very first question: is cereal soup? We'll get to that coming up next. Welcome back into 580 Sports Talk. Jake LeBon, Dan Lucero with you on this Wednesday. I'll tell you right now, the texts are coming in hot and heavy on this discussion. We got a lot of things that we can discuss right now. Someone on the text line says this could be war right now. So it was a hot button issue. And when we've got hot button issues, we go to one man. And we go to one man only to talk about the hot button issues. And that is David Lesky, who covers all things Royals. You need to follow Dave on Twitter, DB Lesky. Dave, how you doing?
I'm good. It's been a long time. How are you?
Doing excellent. Like I said, we got a hot button issue right now, and we need you to settle it. Okay, man?
You know I'm here for that.
All right. Is cereal soup?
No.
Explain.
Just no.
That's the explanation, Jake. No.
Yes.
Do you know what cereal is? Cereal is cereal.
Correct. Cereal is its own thing, just like hot dogs are their own thing.
That's it. Yes. Cereal is cereal. Cereal is not soup.
Don't you put?
What about
soup?
Oatmeal? We have a texture that says oatmeal.
Oatmeal is soup. Like, is oatmeal soup?
No, oatmeal is oatmeal.
I feel like there's a lot, but there's got to be like a filing,
It's
in,
not.
in biology.
There's not like a There's not like a categorization like mammals. It's oatmeal is oatmeal. Cereal is cereal. Soup is soup.
Food you eat with a spoon. There's your phylum.
Yeah. Like,
sure.
Yeah, what's the genre or the genus?
Okay,
the genus.
let me ask you this: Is ice cream soup?
If you melt it,
yeah, that's the. Well, also you got to put like stuff. Most soup you put stuff in there. Like potato soup. You got soup, and you put the potatoes in there, and just like you put your cereal in the bowl. And
Tell you what, you put some potatoes on top of your Lucky Charms, you can call it soup. But until then, it's cereal.
All right, yeah, this is a hot button issue right now on our text line and our YouTube chat right now. So we had to get your take. So David Lesky, not cereal is its own entity. There we go. What if you add fruit to it? Does that change anything?
No, it becomes cereal with fruit on top.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Yeah.
Potatoes
make it soup. Fruit makes it steep in cereal.
Potatoes.
That's it.
That's it. That's the ingredient.
That's the ingredient. I'm all right
Sprinkle
with that.
some on my frosted mini wheats tomorrow morning. I'll let you know how that goes.
All righty, Dave. Let's talk a little Royals baseball now. Let's get to not the important stuff, because what we just talked about was important.
That's
right.
big stuff.
Will Smith, Stratton, and Lugo. Is that good enough for the Royals, but not good enough for other teams? How do you view so far the hot stove signings for the Royals?
It's good enough. I don't think any team would be upset about adding those three. I think it's a good start. And it may be a better start for the Royals than it would be if you were, for say, like, I don't know, not even like the Braves or Dodgers, but like the Brewers. Maybe that isn't as good of a start for the Brewers as it is for the Royals, but it's a really good start to the offseason. I mean, and let's throw in Nick Anderson too from that trade back about a month ago. I mean, they've added at this point 3 competent or better relievers and a legitimate middle of the rotation starter. I mean, I don't know how you can look at that in a negative light at all. I mean, there are things to critique about, like the Lugo contract, sure. But if you're talking about the 2024 Royals, they got better. and in some ways a lot better. And because of who these guys are replacing on the roster. I was about to say the biggest problem with the Royals was, but I don't know if it's the biggest problem because there's 12 biggest problems. but one of the biggest problems with the 2023 Royals was that the guys at the bottom of the roster shouldn't have been on any roster. And so they just weren't good enough to be big leaguers. And these 4 guys they've added push 4 guys off the roster who shouldn't have ever been there. That's huge. That's fixing the bottom of a roster is one of the easiest ways to add 10 to 12 wins, just like off the bat without even thinking about it. And, adding 4 middle of the roster guys to push the current middle of the roster guys to the bottom, I think that makes a huge difference.
What is the next move they need to make in order of priority?
Yeah, probably a better starter than Seth Lugo, I think.
So who are those? Who are those? Because there's not many of them out there right now.
Yeah, there are a handful. Yeah, I mean, so Marcus Stroman is the only one out there who I think is for sure better than Seth Lugo. And I tweeted this earlier, but I talked to a source this morning and I said, "Hey, what have you heard? Is the Lugo deal? Does that put a kibosh on any of the others? Because the Royals have been linked to Michael Wacha and Marcus Stroman and Lucas Giolito and Jack Flaherty, although I've heard conflicting reports on their interest in Flaherty, but it's out there. So, these guys, and he responded, he said, I don't think it's any different. It doesn't seem like they are out on any of these guys, even after spending on Seth Lugo. And so Stroman's the one who is better. Giolito is the one who I think is probably better. Wacha may be better. Flaherty is a very big wild card to me. And then there's some trade market. There's been some talks that they've talked with the Marlins, with the Mariners. I think it probably extends beyond teams that start with an M, but I haven't heard any. So, but look, the Marlins have a handful of pitchers who could be really, really good at some point. They do a great job with developing pitching. The Mariners have, I don't think Logan Gilbert is on the table. I've seen people speculate about that. I just don't think the Royals have anything to get Logan Gilbert. But Brian Wu, I think they could get. Emerson Hancock, I think they could get. Now, those guys are young. And Hancock more than Wu unproven. But I think they could be better than Lugo. Maybe it's not better. Maybe it's as good or better is what they need to do. But there are a few guys left. And look, they have a chance to get them. I think that until they're somewhere else, they could be a Royal.
Our guest is David Lesky, who writes about the Royals on the Inside the Crown newsletter. You can check him out on Twitter at DB Lesky, joining us here in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline on 580 Sports Talk. David, when you talk about the possibility of acquiring a pitcher via trade, whether that's with Seattle, whether that's with Miami, whether that's with a team that we haven't discussed yet, which might be a more realistic path towards acquiring a middle-of-the-rotation arm than going out and spending $22 million a year on Marcus Stroman, or being able to convince Giolito or Wacha to take the free agent dollars that are left for the Royals to spend. What does a prospect/player package from the Royals look like in return? What would they have to part with to get the kind of pitcher who's going to really meaningfully raise the floor of the current starting rotation?
Well, if you're looking to raise the floor of the rotation, it doesn't take a whole lot. but I mean, to truly add to the rotation, Michael Garcia is a name who people don't want him to be traded, and I don't think that he has to be moved, but I think he could be a headliner in a deal. MJ Melendez, I don't know how other teams are viewing him so much. I mean, there's a lot of mixed answers out there. Is he the guy who he was after the All-Star break? Because if so, that's an impact bat. I mean, he was a legitimate impact bat after the All-Star break. Or is he viewed as the whole the sum of the whole the whole season in 2023? I don't know. I don't know how they're viewing him necessarily, but he's a guy who could be part of a package. They don't have a lot is the problem, because the guys who are going to bring back a big return are Bobby Witt Jr., who's not going anywhere, Vinny Pasquantino, who's not going anywhere, Cole Reagans, who, I mean, if you're trading him, then what's the point? Because you're trading him to get a guy who you hope is him. So they're in the spot where trade in some ways seems like the more likely path, but in other ways, it's kind of hard to see how they go down that path because there's not a lot. But I do think a deal centered around Melendez or Garcia, that could work, especially with a team like Seattle. I think MJ Melendez makes a lot of sense for them just because of what they need. So that's where I see the deal centering. I don't know who's involved. I'd imagine they'd have to give up Frank Mozzicato, maybe Ben Kudrna, maybe. I don't know. If I was the Royals, I would, if you're looking at Mason Barnett or Christian Chandler Champlain, I would give up Champlain before Barnett personally. But I mean, I guess one of those two could be involved. I probably wouldn't do either, to be completely honest, but whatever. So that there's some avenues. Just it's a tough road for them because they don't have a lot of talent.
The Royals signed Garrett Hampson a couple of weeks ago, veteran utility man, to a 1-year contract. And as somebody who watches a frankly hazardous amount of Colorado Rockies baseball, I had one prevailing opinion of Garrett Hampson over the course of his Rockies career, and it was that guy's a Kansas City Royal. Like he really seems to fit what the Royals have kind of run out there the last few years. But did that signing, in your opinion, maybe lead to the possibility that the Royals can trade from their outfield glut or their middle infield glut, that they maybe view someone like Garcia or Massey or Nick Lofton as someone who they could use in a trade to bolster the starting pitching in the short term?
I think it's certainly possible. A lot of people were, when that move was made, it was, okay, well, who's getting traded? And I don't know that it necessarily has to be anybody as of right now. I mean, I keep a payroll spreadsheet, which is probably the least surprising thing to anybody who's ever talked to me. And on it,
very on brand.
I have it really is. And on it, I have a running current 26-man roster. And I've got Maikel Garcia, Michael Massey, Nick Lofton, and Garrett Hampson all on the roster, and it works. So they don't have to move anybody. I think they kind of showed their hand with Samad Taylor with how little they played him when he was on the big league roster last year and then sending him down. So I think they see him as depth maybe. The thing about Hampson that I think is maybe more interesting is that he can play outfield. He can play center field. And so I wonder a little bit if what does that mean for probably Drew Waters, but maybe Kyle Isbell. Maybe they're part of a deal to bring back a starting pitcher. And look, if you're a team needing a defensive center fielder, you could do worse than Kyle Isbell. And no, he's not going to hit. But fourth outfielder, I think he works in that way. So I think that that's a possibility. But I like I said, I could see them keeping everybody. It allows them the opportunity to move somebody if the right deal comes along, though, which is, they had it before, but it helps. It helps to have depth. And real quick to talk about the bottom of the roster again, Garrett Hampson as a 500 at bat player. I thought when I was watching him in previous seasons, I thought, he's going to get 500 at bats for the Royals one year. Now I feel like, okay, if he gets 250, that's fine. He's a good player in that role. I think that there is a role for him to get 200 to 250 plate appearances. But yeah, I mean, I think he allows them the opportunity to trade somebody, but they don't necessarily have to. And like I said, I'm looking at the roster and it still makes sense to have all of them on there.
Last thing we got for you, Dave. We really here in Topeka don't have a dog in the fight on where the new stadium's going to be at. Doesn't really affect us, right? You want to put it in Clay County? Fine. You want to put it in Jackson County downtown? Fine. Honestly, we'd have a dog in the fight if you want to put it in Wyandotte County on the Kansas side. Then I'm on board. How are people in Kansas City dealing with this right now? You're there in the Kansas City area. What are you hearing? How bad has it gotten? What are you thinking?
It's funny because you live in a social media echo chamber and it feels like it's World War III a lot when you were just watching the comments go back and forth. And then you go out in the real world, and that's like the oldest thing I've ever said, I feel like. So sorry. But then you go out and you actually have conversations with people, and most people are like, well, whatever it is, it'll be. And they just, and honestly, that's kind of how I feel. Look, they're going to build it where they're going to build it. And let me know the address and I'll plug it in the GPS if I need to. And that's where I'm going to go once that's where they play. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I don't think everybody does, of course, but it doesn't, I don't know. I think that it's a hot button issue, but I also think that most people are just like, well, let me know when the vote is, if I'm in the jurisdiction to vote, and then once it gets built, where to go, and just I'll go from there. And that's kind of how I feel. But yeah, I don't know. Internally, I think it's gotten ugly. I think that there's blame on all sides, to be honest. I think that the Royals probably are taking more of the blame than they deserve, but it's not because they don't deserve any. I think they deserve plenty. But we'll see. They've got, I think, a little over a month before it can go, it's too late to put on the April ballot for Jackson County, at least. So it'll be interesting.
Well, we appreciate the time as always, Dave. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to you if any more hot stove news comes along.
I'll be here for you guys. Thanks.
David Lesky, fantastic job. Knows baseball. Not a surprise he's got a spreadsheet. That's the type of info that Dave brings.
That's on brand.
Yeah, that's awesome. Fantastic. He knows his baseball. Coming up, we got lots more to get to. What is wrong with you? And we'll talk with Tim Fitzgerald coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. number 3 here on 580 Sports Talk. Thank you so much for stopping by and joining us on this midweek afternoon. Jake LeBon and Dan Lucero with you. Brendan Dworzinski. He should be at Bearcat Arena. If he's not, he
might have gotten lost.
That's
a tricky drive.
You got to go up Highway 4. You got a lot of things, and you got to stop in St. Joe. And
not a fun one in bad weather.
No, I don't go on there in bad weather.
Yeah, we made that drive in some gnarly weather one time.
No, in this situation, this is the time where you drive through Highway 4, but you also got to be careful because deer and everything. Like, this is a bad situation, Highway 4 and all of that. And if you're driving up through Highway 4 to Atchison all the way to St. Joe, and then in St. Joe, it's just a casserole of nonsense going from the bottom of south of St. Joe to north of it. It's a whole mess. Hopefully he's there. We got Washburn Hoops coming up at 5:15 pregame coverage, 5:30 tip-off from Maryville. We got plenty to get to coming up this hour. We got What Is Wrong With You. Tim Fitzgerald will join us to talk some K-State. K-State did announce that they're going to have a press conference on Friday for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. So we'll get some of that coming up. That'll be the first time we've heard from Chris Kleiman about all the transfer. I mean, 20 transfers.
20 guys in the portal. And we certainly will have some questions for Chris Kleiman about all of that.
So we've got lots more to get to. If you need anything and you got anything on your mind, hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429.
Let's be careful about saying if people need anything, they can text us. We're going to have people saying, hey, can you pick up a loaf of bread on the way home?
No, we'll just tell them no. But we do got a lot of input today on the text line, most notably regarding number one topic in this area, apparently, is soup.
We have been informed on the in the YouTube comments by the Jayhawker83.
Mm-hmm.
If you're from Kansas, you don't eat soup. Your food choices are beef, pork, chicken, potatoes, corn, and copious quantities of bread. There isn't anything else. You also support our state's economy.
I'm not a huge soup guy.
Maybe that's me. Maybe soup is more of a Colorado thing.
I like soup, but I'm not.
I've asked a question. I've returned fire, I guess, in the YouTube comments. I said, well, what if there's beef, pork, chicken, or potatoes in the soup?
Then you're good.
And I'm supporting the state's economy and our state's farmers, and also warming my stomach with a delicious bowl of hot soup.
All you're doing is putting the stuff that they say into water.
Or stock.
Yeah.
What kind of stock? Chicken stock a lot of time, or beef stock.
Yeah, you're just putting it in a different. It's not a vehicle because that's the bowl, but we got
vessel.
Yeah. So, but we got a lot of people going back and forth. Real quick, if you want a quick snack, can you reach in and grab a handful of soup? That's in terms of is cereal soup. What
a handful of soup? That's
well played.
Ew. Yeah, I mean, if you want, wash your hands afterwards.
No, but I agree with them because you pull in there, like the soup part of it's gonna fall out of your hand, and you're left with just the ingredients.
Yeah, just the ingredient. Yeah, just a handful of noodles.
We know Brendan hates cereal with milk, so there's a lot in there. You know, we got a lot to digest here.
No offense, Jake.
Your
785
soup sucks.
Your soup sounds horrible. You're just put it in water theory. Yuck.
Yes, correct.
I can put it in water.
Yeah. Dan, you asked about chili. When you make chili, beans or no beans?
Beans in the chili are a must.
What kind of beans you put in there?
It depends on the chili. Sometimes black beans. Sometimes
I go with the red bean.
Yeah. So you do a red bean chili. Yeah. Never done a lima bean chili. That doesn't sound all that appetizing. But yeah, you got to have beans in the chili, man. You got to.
From the text line, an emphatic no. Exclamation points. And we're getting yelled at right now because that's all caps.
People are disagreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to have
no beans in chili. No, like
we got to have the beans in the chili.
No, a lot of people don't put beans in chili.
That's wild to me.
I'm with you. I'm a bean guy.
Is gumbo soup? I think the answer to that is yes.
1,000% it's soup.
I think the answer to that is yes.
We're solving all the problems today here on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. So want to make sure we get all that out there. You can interact with us on our YouTube page. Go to youtube.com, type in 580 Sports Talk, and you can interact and all that. So
Jeffrey says you eat the soup as an appetizer for your steak. if you're a real Kansan.
I don't.
Soup and
I'm not.
steak.
I'm not gonna lie
That's
to you.
hearty.
I don't eat a lot of soup. I don't. Not soup's not part of the main rotation, if you will.
I was single a little longer than you, and I did this. Sometimes winter night, you don't really feel like cooking or going out to eat. You got that can of clam chowder in the cupboard, some Tabasco, a little pepper. That's a meal, baby.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not anti-soup. I am not. I don't get it that much. I mean, if you really want to talk about being from Kansas, it's chili and cinnamon rolls. Like, that's
see, I always thought that. I
go-to.
thought that was a Nebraska thing, but y'all in Kansas are more
into it. Yeah,
more into it than
no
than
question.
Nebraskans.
Yeah. So, but always fun to go back and forth when it comes to some takes. Some of your takes are good on the text line. Some of them, they are poor, but that's okay. To each their own, right?
Yeah,
to each their own.
To each their own.
So we got What Is Wrong With You coming up, and then Tim Fitzgerald will join us. We'll get to some headlines. We'll talk more about what Travis Kelce had to say coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. But do want to say something of note when it comes to a little update here on the show. December 20th will be my last day here on the show. I will be hanging up the old microphone, if you will, here at 580 WIBW. So we got one more week's worth of shows for me. So made that decision that my final day here at 580 WIBW, as well as Alpha Media Topeka, and being the voice of Washburn. Few people have known that Washburn did something real nice on my last game that I called, as Brendan is going to do the Washburn basketball games this year. So many of Washburn fans have known about this, but we decided to let everybody know now that December 20th, so the Wednesday,
1 week from today,
Wednesday before the Christmas time, will be my last show here on the 580 airwaves. It seems crazy to say that, because as a junior in college, I applied for an internship here at this station, and Bruce Steinbrock and technically Greg Sharp, who was the operations director here, said, I suppose we'll give you, you can come on in and be an intern. And so I did an internship and then worked part-time during 2006 and 2007. And then in early 2008, I got put on as a full-time position. And then, as they say, the rest is history. So it's been 18 years that I've been driving to this radio station. Like, it's the only job that I've had post college, to be honest with you, which is not normal. And I understand that. And I also understand that is not normal in the business that I'm in. Yeah. So to make the announcement today that Wednesday, December 20th will be a very difficult day for me, because it will be the final day on the show. We will get you kind of an update on nothing else is kind of changing here.
Not changing the show,
Nope.
not changing time slots, not shortening the show. The 580 Sports Talk from 2 to 6 is going to continue on as you've come to know it here over the last few years. But
just me being on it is not going to be the same.
I guess now that you've told everybody, you're really not changing your mind. I guess I kind of held out a little bit of hope in the back of my head. Maybe he'll decide. Maybe he'll decide to not do this. maybe he'll have a change of heart.
What I'll do is, do I still have time to pull a coached at Creighton, coached at Kansas State. Help me out here, basketball coach. Yeah, I can pull a Dana Altman and say I'm going to Arkansas, and then I decide not to, and then come back. No, that is definitely not going to happen. So I appreciate some of the people who have already reached out and said some things already. You're very, very kind. Some of you are probably like, good, get the hell off the radio. We don't like you. Hey, that's okay. I know I have not, what's the word? I've not agreed. A lot of people haven't agreed with me over these last 18 years.
Well,
you do understandable.
20 hours of radio a week, give or take, for as long as you have.
Correct.
You're going to stumble into an opinion that's not all that popular.
Yeah.
And I know you maybe didn't make friends in every MIAA city
Probably
that you ever
not.
went to.
Probably not. But the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that, I believe the term was it. Someone said, I don't know the secret to happiness, but I know the secret to failure and trying to please everyone. That's not the secret to failure. I think I probably butchered that a little bit. But you're not going to please everybody. And it took me a little bit to understand that. From the text line. See, this is why I love you, text line. Yeah, Tom Brady said that too. Yeah, he did that twice.
Yeah.
That probably won't be the case in this situation. Tom Brady's got a little bit more leverage than I do. But no, it's been an absolute blast, and we can say the goodbyes and all of that come Wednesday, because that'll be my final day, and then obviously taking off for the Christmas time. And then January 2nd, will embark my new journey. Some people have already asked what is going to be the next part of my journey. Well, this was basically a decision made out of family. Everybody knows I've got 2 little kids. They are the best. But with this job and traveling and being gone, it's difficult. If you've ever been in a job that requires you to travel a whole lot, and I can tell you traveling to Tahlequah and to Kearney and to Oklahoma City and to Jeff City, that's difficult to do with 2 young kids who also are starting to do a lot of different things. So it was kind of in best interest for everyone involved. But I will be heading into the financial world. Hello, financial world. Starting January 2nd, I will be a financial advisor for OFG Financial here in Topeka. I will work with Rick Higgs here in Topeka and Northeast Kansas. So that is kind of the position that I am going to be going for.
And if you think it's a stretch to get financial advice from this man, keep in mind the return on investment on his football pick this year has been off the charts.
It's been terrific. It really has.
You picked a good year to crush it in the 580 picks.
So
if you were sitting like 20 games below 500, you'd have people thinking, oh, now you want to give financial advice?
Yeah. So I will be working with a great individual and a great financial mind and a great company in OFG Financial. So that will be the future for me starting January 2nd. So we've got a full week of, me saying goodbyes and all that kind of stuff. And then Wednesday will be my final show, and we can have some fun there. And you guys can pull any audio you want to of me making fun of myself, like spelling the word Kaufman with a C, making all sorts of fun. So that'll be a fun show, a little bittersweet show coming up on Wednesday. But we wanted to at least mention that, because I know we've had a lot of fun over these last 18 years. A lot of jokes. I expect a few getting tackled on the 1-yard line jokes coming up on Wednesday. So, but I wanted to let everybody know kind of this situation going forward. So Wednesday we'll have a lot of fun. Until then, I'll keep spitting hot fire for the next week at least. So.
Lots of nice, kind comments. I'm sure you're seeing them come through to the text line. The 316 says Jock LeBon is handling your retirement.
Yeah, that's
with the
about
thinking
it. Yep.
face emoji.
So
You've been congratulated here from the 785. Congrats on moving from one washed-up athlete career of sports media to the other
that's
in
about right.
financial plan. Now, if you ever do real estate, you've covered all the bases.
Yeah, I really have.
You've hit for the cycle.
So we wanted to make that announcement. We'll make that as well, kind of online, social media, and all of that. So we still got a week left. I got more picks to make, and who knows? Maybe this next week I'm really gonna, let everything off my chest. Nobody's off limits for the next week when it comes to my hot takes, and maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do a hot take a day or something of that nature.
There are several bridges you are about to cross for the last time, and you've got matches and a can full of gasoline.
Yeah. So wanted to let everybody know there, and I'll get to the thank yous and all that because I got so many people to thank and to mention over the next 7 days. So coming up next, though, enough of the wishy-washy stuff. Let's get to our What Is Wrong With You, and then we'll talk with Tim Fitzgerald.
It is time for the Wednesday edition of What Is Wrong With You this week here on 580 Sports Talk. Two new stories compete to see if they can take down our current weekly champion. Top City Metal Supply is the sponsor of What Is Wrong With You. Top City Metal cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to metal. Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Our current champion, the gentleman in the St. Louis suburbs who punched one employee of a Panda Express and stabbed another in the back because he was not happy with the quality of his food. Jake, we've all had disappointing fast food or fast casual experiences. Never stabbed anybody over one myself.
Gosh, stabbing is so personal.
It is. It's such a personal crime, isn't it?
Man, you gotta real quick question. If you throw a knife at somebody and it gets them, is that stabbing them?
I don't know.
Because you're throwing it, that's different than stabbing, but it still involves the knife. Because I feel like if you have a knife in your hand and you stab someone, that's so personal.
It's assault with a deadly weapon one way or another. I think that probably legally there's not much. It's a distinction without a difference. But any legal experts in the YouTube chat or can text us 785-272-9429 and let us know if there's a legal difference between stabbing or throwing a knife at somebody and having it impale them. Anyhow, that's our current champion. We've got 2 new stories today. Jake, you're the visitor. I'm going to let you lead off.
Alrighty. We've had this story before, but this is just another example of this. We go to the great state of California, and the headline I'll just read the first sentence. A California woman was arrested after she was spotted with a handwritten fake license plate on the back of a suspected stolen car. There's a lot to digest right there. The arrest happened Friday of Benicia. The 38-year-old Angel Bolton wrote the license plate numbers with a thick black marker on what police believe to be printed paper and then taped it to the back of the silver Kia Rio LX. It was reported stolen out of Alameda County, according to the police department. They say, we're not superheroes, but just FYI, this is not a way to get over on us, on a Facebook post from the Benicia Police Department. So here's a video, or not video, here's a picture of it, Dan. It's very simple. It's an 8x11 with January, JAN in the upper left-hand corner, the numbers, which are clearly didn't use a ruler, and then the year 2023, and then black electrical tape around it.
It doesn't even, like, she even tried to make it look like a California license plate or a license plate in any state. And what's more, if the tags say January 2023, those would be expired. She didn't even write, like, valid fake tags.
Well,
why would you write expired fake tags?
Well, January 23 is still good for now, but like once February next year, they'd be expired. But here's the thing that I don't get about this is, one, if this is what you're going to do, at least Google what a California license plate looks like. Put California on there.
Like the red cursive. Like they are very distinctive, even though it's not like by design, like their design isn't anything flashy. It's a very distinctive, like, a California plate. It's the red cursive and then the blue numbers and letters below it.
Like, if you're going to do this, at least put forth the effort.
It's probably one of the easier ones to fake. When you really get down to it, it's not like you have to draw a bunch of art. Like, you don't have to draw the state seal in the back or
no. It really is. It's just way too bland. And then there's the other thing too. Pro tip: at least the registration current, joked with that. Also, ready? It's a stolen car. Why are you? The whole point, if you steal a car, is to blend in.
Don't call further attention to it.
Because you just got popped by two different things. One, I don't understand that. Like, here's the California license plate.
Yeah.
It pretty simple. Like Washington, you got like the mountains in the background.
Right. Colorado, you got to get the mountains just right. This is just text. Calligraphy.
Do your Googles. I'm just so disappointed in the effort in trying to at least get away with said crime. That's my problem.
That is wild. That is a really good story. For my story today, we're going to my neck of the woods. We don't often go to Colorado. We don't often go to Denver, Colorado. Pretty laid back place. Not a whole lot going on over there that rises to what is wrong with you level. But unfortunately cannot say that about my story today. We go to the Park Hill community, famously where Chauncey Billups grew up.
Yeah.
The pride of Park Hill, the king of Park Hill. Some neighbors in that community are on high alert after they say a man has been breaking into their homes and stealing intimate items, mostly women's underwear. Neighbors are calling him the Park Hill panty thief.
Oh, my God.
And police are searching for the possible suspect. A neighbor who asked to be anonymous told KDVR, that's the Fox affiliate in Denver, I felt like he was watching our house. He totally passed over everything you think a thief would steal. Money, medications, PlayStations, computers. Didn't grab any of that stuff. The neighbors are calling the moments she said a man broke into her home. She told Fox 31, KDVR, about the first time he came through her window in July. All the lights were on in the house, so I don't know if he chose to come when someone is there. My roommate was asleep in the bedroom. I wasn't home at the time. She said her roommate grabbed a knife and went to approach the man. My roommate stabbed him twice, pretty shallow. He had something in his mouth, and it was a sexual toy, but it was in a case. So not sure if he knew what it was. He had been going through their box of things in this nature. She said the police were called, and he ran. She told Fox 31 he came back 3 weeks later, but this time he was captured on video. Came back at the end of October. Saturday, she saw a post from a neighbor on the Nextdoor app telling a similar story. That neighbor writes, around 9 a.m., I went to my office, noticed the window was wide open, no screen, which I thought was weird. The scary part is I looked out my window. Since it had snowed the night before, there was fresh snow on the ground. I could see footprints on the ground, and they were not my footprints or my boyfriend's footprints. So that's what led us to believe someone had broken into the home. As I was looking through my drawers, I noticed all my underwear had gone missing. There was no clean underwear in my drawer where I usually keep it. Neighbors are terrified to sleep at night, hoping that the man is caught soon.
First of all, justifiable stabbing there, real quick.
Yes.
Justifiable stabbing.
Yes, absolutely.
Protect
that,
yourself.
Yes, that woman in question did absolutely nothing.
No problem. We're not here to kink shame.
We're not?
We're not. Do what you want to do, but you can't do this. Like, this is like terrifying.
Yeah, this is pretty foul. Pretty foul. Like, he's not, he's just breaking into, clearly this is how he gets his jollies.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to steal, like, clearly good at breaking into places, but not taking anything but underdraws and sex toys.
Yeah, he got a different type of MO when it comes to breaking and entering.
A real creep, the Park Hill panty thief, but I don't think that beats the woman who stole a car and decided, I know it will throw people off the scent, an obviously fake license plate.
Stealing the car it makes it even like it, because we've had this before where it's their own car and they just put the license on there because they didn't want to pay for registration or they lost their license plate and all that kind of stuff. If you just lose your license plate, that's fine. Like, just go get a new one, pay for your registration. It's not, most cars who have this type of stuff who steal are not great cars,
right.
It's like a 1998 Buick LeSabre and it costs like $12 to register a year. It's not like you're driving a 2024, Mercedes where it's like $900. I have no idea. I'm just guessing those are super expensive to register. But it's a stolen car.
Don't call further attention to it, and then make sure the tags that you fake are not expired.
Yeah.
That just the lack of attention to this woman. This is our new weekly winner. I think this beats the Panda Express stabbing. So many boxes that were not checked here by this woman.
And I always say, this was super premeditated, in the heat of the moment, not, what he did was wrong at the Panda Express.
Mm-hmm.
But this was like this was like
this one had a plan, and it was a really dumb plan.
And a bad one.
Really bad plan. And that is our new winner, the phony license plate out of California. Top City Metal Supply sponsors What Is Wrong With You? That's metal cut to order when you need it. For Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. We're taking a break. Tim Fitzgerald joins us on the other side here on 580 Sports Talk. I don't know, guys. I don't know what the world we're going to talk about with Tim Fitzgerald today. It hasn't been busy, borderline frantic in Manhattan over the past week and change. I'm sure we'll come up with something as Fitz joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, as he does every Wednesday at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-Up here on 580 Sports Talk. Tim Fitzgerald, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. You can follow him on Twitter at Life of Fitz. Fitz, it seems, at least publicly, like the dust is settling a bit around the Naquan Tomlin situation. He's found a new home. He graduated from K-State. He's going to Memphis to finish his college basketball career. And K-State on the floor was able to put it behind them and win convincingly at LSU on Saturday. But are we getting the whole picture from the public appearance of the settling of dust, or are there still some things that need to be settled down behind the scenes?
Oh, much to be done, and it has kind of moved out of public view because honestly, the only ones that can resolve this are the university president or the Kansas Board of Regents. I mean, the fans and donors are, I guess the faculty senate at K-State could file a no confidence, but it's just, greater forces need to take place now if some movement on this. And I'm sure if you're Richard Linton, you've now realized I needed to stop messing with this, stop pushing, because he had it calmed down with Jerome Tang's video, and then he put out his own release for reasons nobody understands. It absolutely blew this thing back up, and it's just another sign of it not really understanding how to be a leader.
The basketball program, at least publicly, they've thrown their support behind Naquan Tomlin, congratulated him publicly on graduating last weekend, and have wished him luck on social media as he moves on to Memphis to play as a grad transfer. Is that the kind of thing that's going over well in it's not the C-suite, but Anderson Hall, the very top here? Is that the kind of thing that maybe there's some pushback against towards the basketball program?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I guess in Richard Linton's career view, if someone does something wrong, you just eject them from your life and get away from them. And that's not how Jerome Tang works. The young man made mistakes. They were being addressed in terms of a reasonable amount of punishment and how the school should address it. The first incident was settled. The second one was, they were under the understanding that as soon as he fulfilled his duties with the legal system, which happened with the diversion, he would be back. And now the story being told by Anderson Hall is, he was always going to be gone. And I'm just here to say that's flat not the case. Before I knew this was even a controversy with the president, I had been told repeatedly by a number of people, once he gets this addressed with the legal system, he's going to be fine. It's a disorderly conduct. It's a bar incident. They can say this or this might have happened, but he was charged with this because that's all that he could be charged with. And yet that is what ended it all for him. And in an unexplainable manner, the university president roared in and took control of it. And if you're a big fan of his, you're like, he had to take control. His basketball staff is just, none of it lines up to the reality on the ground. Jerome Tang's not soft. He doesn't allow bad kids to play. The only consistent thing is he loves them, and he isn't going to just, jettison them out of his life because they made a mistake. That's not what good people do. And I guess one little bar incident was just too much for Richard Linton. And I guess you better hope that nobody digs something up in his past, or that one little incident might meet that criteria for him to be dismissed.
Is there a path to cooler heads at this point? Is there a way forward for everyone involved to let this lie and have it be something that can be ultimately moved past in the eyes of Jerome Tang and the basketball staff, in the eyes of Gene Taylor in the athletic department, in the eyes of Richard Linton and Anderson Hall? Or is this an impasse that it may not be breakable?
Those three men will not be at Kansas State next school year. That's as sharp as I need to spell it out. Someone's going to go. or more people will go. He has destroyed his credibility with his athletic department, with a great number of his fans, alumni, and donors. And there's similar damage being done to his reputation on campus with how he's handling non-athletic things. I've come across a number of controversies that we just don't know about because they don't have the public view of athletics. But this is a campus-wide thing right now. He's going in and taking control of things and firing people and running them off. And it doesn't matter if they've done a good or bad job. He's like gutting different parts of the university. It's truly strange behavior, and it's the behavior, as you mentioned at the top, Naquan settled. The young man found a home. We've heard rumors of an NIL deal up to $500,000 for a semester of basketball. You won't go get that at K-State. This worked out great from Naquan's stance, other than the fact he loved K-State and he loved his coaches. Well, he's going to get paid really well by a program that needed a little boost, and he'll do great for him. And he probably has avenues to a lawsuit directed at Kansas State based on Richard Linton hinting at things that either shouldn't be hinted at or don't exist. Because a lot of people think these things don't exist. So yeah, it's a mess, but it's not even close to resolved. The Board of Regents needs to address this. But the way leadership works now is this is a really difficult thing. This is a kind of a sticky situation. We're going to ignore it. I mean, that's what leaders do now, and that's why we're in a lot of trouble around this country.
Message boards aren't real life, Fitz. Not even the ones that your VIPs frequent at gopowercat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Subscribe today for VIP access.
50% off.
Yeah, 50%. 50%?
60.
Oh, 60% off right now if you subscribe today. How about that? But message boards are not real life. Twitter is not real life. These things are not a reflection of it's a reflection of a very small percentage of people. And the people that tend to be the loudest on those platforms are the people that are the angriest and feel the strongest. That being said, you're not just in touch with what's going on in the message boards, what's going on in social media. Like you're in Manhattan, you're in the community. Is the level of frustration that high outside of the things you can read on the internet, the things that people post under, online pseudonyms for everyone to read?
I've had faculty members, educators reach out about how troubled they are about how this was handled. And yeah, I mean, I'm getting off, not just stuff said on main Twitter, but I'm getting private contacts. As I've pointed out a couple times, Becky and I lived in Manhattan now for 25 years straight. Now this guy roll into town and decide that my only possible contact could be athletics is not understanding your audience. I mean, I know a lot of people on campus, a lot of people in important roles. So to think my only sources here are athletics and I'm only getting told one side of the story is blatantly wrong. When I've had mistakes, I've corrected them, but I'm getting stuff from all over, from all angles. And yeah, there's real outrage. But here's the thing: when you have a boss that is firing people and threatening to fire people who aren't in lockstep with him, it's chilling. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that, I'm just going to take this. I'm going to keep my head low. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to be in the crosshairs of this maniac. And that's kind of the feedback I'm getting from a lot of people on campus.
Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Wednesday at this time. Check out Fitz on Twitter, at Life of Fitz. And again, check out the great work of the staff at GoPowerCat.com. Let's move to the on-the-court stuff for the basketball team, because that's really good and positive to talk about. They went to Baton Rouge and rolled LSU for the better part of that 40 minutes, pulled away late to win by 15 after LSU had made a run, but they were in command of that game for the better part of it. What was most impressive to you about K-State's win in their first true road game of the season?
It was the last two games Villanova and LSU have been really consistent wire-to-wire efforts. Does the other team have periods? As you mentioned, there was a run. Yeah, absolutely. LSU had a run early in the first half. And K-State was up 5-0, and then LSU rattled off some points to take the lead. But no, they kept responding. There was a, kind of a steady hum to these last two games where they didn't have a big flurry. They didn't, it wasn't one of those, we didn't play well and we won it in overtime. These were like good performances wire to wire. And what's changed is they seem to have really locked in on the defensive end. And that makes you more consistent. If the other team has problems stringing together long periods of success, it makes a huge difference. Now, LSU shot 59% from the field in the first half and trailed. And I think that tells you that even when LSU was shooting a ball extremely well, K-State was the better team. And then they shot 29% in the second half, and thus K-State won by 15.
What do you make of the Sunday matchup against Nebraska at Bramlage Coliseum? I know kind of a bad break schedule-wise with the Chiefs game being moved to the same afternoon after that had originally been scheduled for Monday night. Nebraska struggled a bit. They had a couple of bad losses in a row there. I think they just beat Minnesota in a Big Ten game. So trying to bounce back and maybe more talented than they were last year. But what do you make of this matchup from K-State's perspective?
I love playing these regional games. I know nothing about Nebraska as I sit here. Researching a game 5 days away or whatever it is hasn't been on my radar. But I love that the next two games are Nebraska and then Wichita State and Kansas City. These are games that have value, have connection for the fan base, that mean something a little bit more than, say, if you played Minnesota. I mean, just having Nebraska being overlap and, fan bases that at the border is interesting. And I love it. I think it's a good home game to have on an odd day. And I also want to say that I don't think the Chiefs are going to hold many people away right now from attending a basketball game. They're just not that fun to watch.
That's an entirely fair point from Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com. Let's pivot to football on the Wildcat wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz, more departures into the transfer portal for Kansas State. The latest, safety Kobe Savage, who was a big leader on that defense this past season. Very productive player the last few seasons. But when you really look at this, I think there are reasons beyond negative that would lead Kobe Savage to decide to play his final year of college eligibility elsewhere. What have you heard about why Savage decided to enter the transfer portal? And is this something that reflects for a larger problem at Kansas State, or was this just one kid, again, making a decision?
Yeah, I think there's a feeling within their house, not just out of the blue. I mean, I think it's clear they were contacted by other schools saying, hey, this is your son's value to our NIL collective. Going on all over college sports right now. It's got to stop. I mean, whether you're a collective or an official part of the coaching staff or administration, you're not supposed to be reaching out in any way to current players directly. I mean, I can understand, maybe they'll talk to the old coach or something, but calling people's houses, come on. I mean, that's just not even close to being legal. I think there's a feeling in the house that you can make a lot more money at some other school. Now, I'll give you a little breaking news. I'm hearing it might be Oregon. I just literally got that about 10 minutes ago. And I've asked our reporter up there, could you find out his NIL value? Because I'm very curious if he's making that much more than he was at Kansas State. At the end of the day, he's a really good college safety. I think he was better before the injury. Unfortunately, I think he's a little bit slower now. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's a feeling we make more money in the NIL world. It's a shame. Great kid. I love that kid. And I think he was going to be finally remembered at K-State. They chose just to be a guy that wore many uniforms at Oregon for one season.
What is the situation at the safety defensive back position as a whole for Kansas State? Because not only did they lose Kobe Savage, they also lost Will Lee, excuse me, not Will Hill, former Gator, Will Lee to the transfer portal as well at the cornerback spot. I know Kansas State really hit that position hard in recruiting last year, and they've obviously had a lot of success bringing in guys from the portal to fill roles in the last handful of seasons. What does the situation look at that spot right now?
I think we're just going to see some young guys. I mean, they're going to roll out a bunch of young guys in this game and say heck with it. Let's just see what they got. I mean, I think that's where they're going to have to go with defensive end, safety, corner, and receiver, running back in terms of behind DJ Giddens, of course, quarterback. So I think that'll be just another position where we're going to see a bunch of young guys. And I think it adds up to probably an inconsistent performance by the Wildcats in the bowl game, but might be awfully fun, and we're going to learn about a lot of things for this team for 2024. I think in 2024, this team has the potential to be really good, and that's in some strange way kind of benefits that, giving them real life game experience, getting something on film from them that then they can really work off of and build. More tangible to go into your off season knowing you've got to work really hard when you just played as a bowl game, when you just saw the field. Then earning it becomes much more easier to wrap your head around.
Couple more for Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com as he joins us for the Wildcat wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk. Bigger deal addition-wise for next year. Easton Kelce, the lineman out of North Dakota, committing from the portal, maintaining the commitment of Blake Barnett, the quarterback out of Erie, Colorado, or the new commitment of the wide receiver Trey Davis, who's a borderline 4-star. Which one of those is the bigger deal?
It's a left tackle, but I want to say there's no with Barnett. There was a fake tweet out that is not someone from 24/7 Sports. And I need to get on there and shoot that down. We've asked now that account be blocked because he is falsely representing that he works for 24/7 Sports. That crap has to stop. I hope X/Twitter helps companies identify these people. You shouldn't get to falsify your credentials and make a company look bad and not be held accountable. So having a veteran left tackle that's proven is absolutely essential to the success of the team next year. And they feel good about their young guys. They just weren't ready to put them out. And maybe they will be. But what we've seen, though, is, Trayshawn Ward, hey, he's going to be the running back. Well, he got beat out. So maybe a young guy will step up and beat this kid out. I don't think so. I mean, this is an NFL-level tackle. This is a really good player coming out of the FCS ranks, and I think it's a good fit. But adding a speedy receiver, heck yeah. The Colorado quarterback is going to be really good for this program. And heck, he's walking into a room where he's third in line already. So it's not second. So it's going to be fun. They're beginning to grind and get some answers to these questions that the program needs.
Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com joins us every week, every Wednesday here on 580 Sports Talk for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Again, you can find Fitz and his staff. They are working hard to give their subscribers and their readers the most up-to-date news from K-State athletics at GoPowerCat.com. There's a subscription special going on right now, 60% off. You can become a VIP. It's worth it. To subscribe to that 24/7 Sports Network. You can also, of course, find Fitz on Twitter at Life of Fitz. Fitz, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Brother, this went so much more smoothly without that other guy. That other guy just gets in the way.
What can I tell you? Sometimes you got to have a strong hand. Too many cooks spoil the broth. We've talked a lot about soup today. That's a whole other thing, and I don't have the time to get into that with you. I have 10 seconds. Is cereal a soup?
No.
Thank you. Good take, Fitz. That's a good one to end on today.
Thank you, buddy.
Have a good one. That is Tim Fitzgerald. GoPowerCat.com. 5 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk coming up next. Let's get it. Final hour of the day here on 580 Sports Talk. I am Dan Lucero, flying it solo the rest of the way today. Thanks for hanging out with me on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube stream. We're on YouTube. Search 580 Sports Talk. You can check me out live right now. I'm waving to the people who are watching us right now. You can check out our archive shows. You can rewind the show that is currently in progress, start from the beginning, start from the middle. However you consume the program, we sure appreciate you doing it. I sure appreciate you doing it here on 580 Sports Talk. One more hour to go on this Wednesday and plenty more to discuss. Want to double back. I have some more thoughts on what Travis Kelce had to say on the New Heights podcast about the Chiefs offense. He's confident it'll get fixed. I get, if you're a Chiefs fan, that you're tired of hearing platitudes, but I think they do mean something. Even if not everything, I think they still mean a little something, and I'm going to discuss why that is a little bit later on this hour. I'm also going to introduce you to the biggest loser ever on FanDuel. FanDuel, of course, being one of the popular sports betting websites, apps. We're going to meet a gentleman who has been exposed in the last week. Number one, for committing $22 million worth of fraud, but also, number two, for being absolutely terrible at sports gambling. And if you guessed that the two things might be related, well then, you're ahead of the game. But we are going to meet the worst sports gambler of all time a little bit later on this hour. Not actually, like I'm not going to have him on. That'd be great. I should have sent an interview request so I could say, he declined our interview request, or attempts to reach this person were not immediately returned. I could sound really official if I said that, like a journalist. But no, I just saw this story today, and there are some quotes in it that made me laugh, and I thought it might make you laugh too. So I'm going to share it with you a little bit later on this hour. Of course, we got our headlines as well to lead off this 5 o'clock hour. So we're jam-packed for this final hour of the show. Again, it is just me. Brendan Dworzinski is in Maryville, Missouri, getting ready to hit the airwaves and bring Washburn basketball to the masses. Ichabod men and women are at Northwest Missouri State tonight. Pregame in about 7 minutes, it looks like, 5:15, give or take. And then the tip-off of the women's game set for 5:30, the men's game to follow. That's over on our sister station, Classic Country 106.9, if you'd like to listen to some Ichabod basketball tonight as they try to pick up consecutive wins, both the men and the women, coming off of MIAA wins on Saturday against Rogers State. Both the Ichabod men and women hoping to make it 2 in a row. So that's where Brendan is. Whole gang will be back tomorrow on the airwaves from 2 to 6 here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get into the headlines, shall we? I've got a lot of them here, and we'll get through as many as we can. We'll start with the participation report for Wednesday's practice for the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots. Chiefs visit Foxborough this coming Sunday for the first time since 2019. Patrick Mahomes, by the way, 1-1 all time at Gillette Stadium. The Patriots stink. You know this. They have the following players on their injury report. Starting running back Ramondre Stevenson has been dinged up of late with an ankle injury. He did not practice today. Limited in practice, 4 wide receivers for the Patriots, including former Chief Juju Smith-Schuster, limited with an ankle injury. Also at wide receiver, Keyshawn Boutte, who has a shoulder injury, Demario Douglas, who's working through a concussion, and Devontae Parker, who has a knee injury, were all limited. Offensive tackle Trent Brown has an ankle and a hand injury. He was limited. Defensive lineman Christian Barmore, another good player, limited with a shoulder injury. That's the Patriots participation report for today. For the Chiefs, 4 players did not participate in practice. 2 of them were sick. They have the Frank Clark Memorial Illness DNP designation. That would be linebacker Leo Chenal and safety Mike Edwards. Also out of practice today, left tackle Donovan Smith, continuing to recover from the stinger that cost him last week's game. And running back Isaiah Pacheco, still not back at practice, dealing with that shoulder contusion that caused him to sit out the game against the Bills. Now, the Chiefs ran the ball efficiently against Buffalo on Sunday. Just a tick over 4.5 yards a carry. That's obviously not the 6 yards a carry they had when Pacheco was playing really well against Green Bay 2 weeks before. The ceiling for the performance is not as high. You don't feel as good about the goal line situations, certainly without a guy like Isaiah Pacheco. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon, I thought, held it down fine at running back last week and could certainly do it again if they are needed to step in. But no practice today for Isaiah Pacheco. He has not practiced now going on a week plus. He didn't practice at all last week, and because he didn't make it to practice Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, he did not play. So no word on Pacheco's return, but he was a DNP today. Only one player limited for the Chiefs. That was Nick Bolton, who in addition to still working through that dislocated wrist and subsequent surgery, also now has an abdomen injury listed. So the Chiefs starting middle linebacker limited today. If that's bad news, here's the good news on the flip side. Drew Tranquill was back as a full participant in practice today. He had the concussion that forced him to miss last week's game, but he was a full participant. Also full participants today, Justin Reid, Jerick McKinnon, L'Jarius Sneed, Kadarius Toney, and Justin Ross. Remember him? He's set to come back from a 6-game NFL suspension for violating the league's behavioral policies. He was a full participant in practice today, listed as a non-injury related return from suspension. So that is your injury report for Wednesday for the Chiefs and the Patriots. If you're wondering, and maybe you are and maybe you aren't, but currently the Chiefs are favored against the Patriots by 8.5 points. That is the current consensus line. Let's keep it moving on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. This news broke about as we were finishing up 580 Sports Talk yesterday, and I wanted to bring it up today. Brett McMurphy of the Action Network was first to report this yesterday, that for the next 2 years, Big 12 Football Media Day will be on the move to Las Vegas. There is reportedly a scheduling conflict, sure there is, at AT&T Stadium in Dallas that will necessitate the Big 12 Football Media Days being moved in June to Las Vegas and to be there instead of Dallas, where they have been since I've been here at WIBW. And I think before that, before 2017, I should say, they were in Dallas for some time as well. Maybe they were in Kansas City once. I don't know the full history of where they've been. I just know that they have been in Dallas for a good while now, and were contracted to remain in Dallas in 2024 and 2025. But instead, there's suddenly a scheduling conflict, and that has enabled Brett Yormark to move Big 12 Football Media Days to Las Vegas. I think this sucks. I think it sucks for multiple reasons. Number one, Las Vegas is west of every single Big 12 team. Right? This is not a geographic center. Now, I know that the geographic center of the Big 12 Conference has been yanked around quite a bit in recent years. You know, adding West Virginia. Now you've added UCF and Cincinnati, and you do add teams in Arizona and Utah and Colorado. So, like, don't make me get out MapQuest and tell you where exactly the geographic center of the Big 12 is, but Dallas made as much sense as anywhere else. And because it was at Jerry World every year, it felt like a big deal because you were there at the stadium where the Big 12 championship game is hosted at the end of the football season. And it's easily accessible for all forms of media. You get a lot of media, and not just, you know, ESPN and Fox. Like, they'll go wherever. Sirius XM, like your big national media, they're going to be wherever. And your big market newspapers, your Kansas City Stars, Wichita Eagles, like, they're going to send beat writers to this event, again, no matter where it is. But it's the medium to small market and non-legacy media, your online media, if you will, your 24/7s, your on-3s, people who maybe are school-centric media, and your medium to smaller market TV and, yes, radio stations are going to have a tougher time getting out to Las Vegas than they did getting to Dallas. Because getting to Dallas, you just drove. And there was always a big media contingent at that event in Dallas, which these media days are to serve the larger media partners. I understand that. But they also serve the fans, right? Like when we bring you content from Big 12 Media Days, and you're a listener to this program, and we bring you we bring you an interview from a K-State player or a KU player, like that gets you fired up for football season, right? It gets you excited. That's what this is for. This is promotion for your product. And now you are making it harder and less accessible for media to promote your product. Also, you can say that you're in Vegas because Vegas has nothing to do with the Big 12 conference. Absolutely nothing. There's never been a Big 12 team in Las Vegas. The conference had nothing to do with Las Vegas. So it sucks in that regard. It sucks because I feel like it is probably a trial balloon to see if ultimately Brett Yormark can convince the Big 12 basketball tournament to move to Las Vegas, which you see a lot of that on social media, especially from the newcomers to the league, particularly from Arizona fans and Utah fans. Yeah, put it in Vegas. Nobody wants to go to Kansas City. Kansas City's stupid. I want to go to Las Vegas. Those tiresome people in the world think Vegas is cool. This is my Vegas take. It is the most overrated city in America. Las Vegas is overrated. It is only beloved by the most tiresome people, the most cliched people, the people that reek of Axe body spray and they want to bro out and drink Red Bull vodkas and sit by the pool and ogle women they're afraid to talk to. That's who likes Vegas. I don't need to go to Las Vegas to gamble on sports anymore, so there's no more allure. Like I can go to a sports book in Bonner Springs, Kansas. I don't need to go to Las Vegas to bet on sports anymore, so it's lost that appeal. And if you're not the high roller type, if you're not like Danny Ocean throwing around hundreds of thousands of dollars and getting the penthouse suite and playing $1,000 hands of blackjack, then Vegas is just hot Milwaukee. Probably with worse food. Definitely worse food than Memphis. I said on Twitter, it's hot Memphis with worse food. There's a reason they stuck it in the desert. A wretched hive of scum and villainy, Las Vegas. Overrated city. I don't need it. I don't need that to be the mecca of everything. And I don't need it, I damn sure don't need it to be the center of the Big 12 conference. And Brett Yormark would be wise to understand where his conference's geographic centers are. And it ain't damn Vegas. Anyway, that's that story. Let's keep it moving on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. This is a big NCAA story that broke today. There is currently a lawsuit between the state of Ohio and the NCAA. And in this lawsuit, Judge John Preston Bailey made a ruling today, issuing a temporary restraining order for the next 14 days that grants immediate eligibility to any college athletes currently seeking eligibility via a multi-transfer waiver. We have talked about stories. They have sprung up throughout the college sports season. Some of the more prominent ones include Tez Walker, the wide receiver at North Carolina, Raekwon Battle, who is trying to get eligibility to play at West Virginia, Ronnie DeGray at Wichita State for a bit more of a local angle. The rules are pretty simple to explain. If you are a graduate transfer, if you have graduated, if you've gotten your diploma and you want to go play for a third or even a fourth different college, you can do that because you have your diploma and you can go and be a grad transfer pretty much wherever you'd like, as long as that school has a learning, a field of study that was not previously available to you, which that gets fudged. But you can go play and be eligible immediately, like Naquan Tomlin. He's eligible immediately because he's a graduate transfer. He has his diploma, so now he can go continue his career, and he doesn't have to wait and sit out a year. But if you are not a graduate and you are trying to make a second transfer, you are, more often than not, being denied that waiver by the NCAA. No matter if you have a legitimate hardship, that waiver is typically being denied. So athletes like Tez Walker sat in limbo for 3 weeks before the NCAA said, all right, yeah, go ahead, you can play. Raekwon Battle has been unable to suit up for West Virginia to this point. Well, now with this ruling today, all of those athletes, every one of them that is currently active, that was waiting for a waiver, they got their waiver. For the next 14 days, the NCAA cannot require any multi-time transfers to sit out. And the judge also suspended, via temporary restraining order, the NCAA rule of restitution, which means, let's say, West Virginia had decided to suit up Raekwon Battle for their next game, because they could do that now. With this temporary restraining order, Raekwon Battle is eligible to play for West Virginia. I'm just using him as an example. There are a lot of other ones, like I pointed out, Ronnie DeGray for Wichita State. That's just one. There's probably there's dozens of these kids who are trying to get a second waiver without being a graduate transfer. And they're all eligible now with this temporary restraining order to play. If West Virginia played Raekwon Battle in their next game, played him anytime in the next 14 days, the NCAA then, because of this part of the temporary restraining order, could not then double back and punish West Virginia if they win the court case. They could not double back and say, okay, now that we won and you actually weren't eligible retroactively, we are going to make your team forfeit these games in which you appeared. So that is not going to happen. And the NCAA has responded to this by saying, essentially, we lower our swords. We are not going to fight this ruling. The statement that the NCAA gave to The Athletic today was, as a result of today's decision impacting Division I student athletes, the association will not enforce the year in residency requirement for multiple time transfers and will begin notifying member schools. So it's a free-for-all. Everyone is eligible. Jameel Reynolds at Cincinnati. The kid for LSU, God, I forget his name. But if you watch the LSU K-State game, LSU had a player, 2-time transfer, wasn't ruled eligible by the NCAA. He's eligible now. He can play. Ronnie DeGray can suit up for Wichita State. Raekwon Battle is going to play in West Virginia's next game. Guarantee it. The NCAA has lowered their sword. They have said, we're not going to fight this. And I know that there will be concern and there will be criticism that, oh, this opens things up to make college sports the wild, wild west. How many times have you heard that, right? The wild, wild west. There are no rules. Well, the reason there's no rules is because these rules aren't really defensible, given like the history of athletics and the business that college sports are. And anytime the NCAA tries to actually enforce any of their rules, they go to court and they lose. They lose big. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that the NCAA can't win a court case? And not only can they not win a court case, they get smoked in court. The last time they went to a Supreme Court, they lost 9-0 to this Supreme Court, the one that currently exists, the one that, if you read the news, can't really agree on much of anything. And in fact, is quite polarized on most matters. But all of them came together. Sonia Sotomayor on one side, Brett Kavanaugh on the other, all came together to say, yeah, the NCAA is full of it. They lose and lose big when they go to court. And this is the NCAA realizing, man, this is another justification for our reason to exist, that we lose. We're going to lose. So, yeah, we may as well call the member schools. Doors open, boys. Multi-time transfers, going to be immediately eligible. And I don't see that changing. I think that's going to be into the spring season. I think that's going to be into next year. Multi-time transfers. And what that might do to the football transfer portal, oh, buddy. There might be another wave of players who enters the football transfer portal in the wake of this decision. So it will certainly be worth monitoring. But interesting stuff today. That's Judge John Preston Bailey, the latest to absolutely backhand the NCAA upside the head and ask, what is it that you do? Why exactly do you exist? Let's keep it moving on our 580 Sports Talk headlines here on this Wednesday. Some other notes. We won't go as long on these, but these are some interesting stories from the sports world. Yesterday, voters in Oklahoma City approved a sales tax of 1% for the next 6 years to build the Thunder a brand new $900 million arena. The Thunder ownership group, they're going to chip in $50 million towards that. And then the rest will be taken by the people of Oklahoma City, all of whom probably their net worth doesn't even stand up to the Thunder's ownership group's net worth. But hey, $50 million, that's all we can do. We need you guys to do the rest. And Oklahoma City citizens said, yes, please, to the tune of 71% yes in the vote yesterday. The proposal was strongly endorsed, according to ESPN.com, by Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt and officials from the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, who argued that keeping the Thunder is an integral part of the city's growth and economic development. Sales tax will begin April 1st, 2028. So that's how far folks in Oklahoma City are willing to go to remain a pro sports town. They will break off some billionaires, $850 million to build a brand new arena. By the way, Paycom Arena, where Oklahoma City currently plays their games, the Paycom Center, excuse me. The Paycom Center is 21 years old. Now, got to replace it. Need $1 billion basketball palace, or we'll take this team and move them back to Seattle. I don't know, man. Public funding for stadiums, big scam. Big scam. That's how I feel about it. Other headlines, the NFL's going to Brazil. The NFL announced today that they will play a game in Sao Paulo, Brazil at Corinthians Arena. It's not named that way after a book of the Bible. It's named after a soccer club, SC Corinthians. It was a venue for the World Cup and the Summer Olympics back in 2016, and it will host an NFL game in South America. It'll be the first ever NFL game in Brazil. The Miami Dolphins are the lone team to have international rights to the Brazil market, so you could probably expect that the Dolphins will be one of the two teams that participate in the game. The league has also given the go-ahead to expand the slate of international games from 4 to 8 beginning in 2025. That does not include Jacksonville's yearly game at Wembley Stadium in England. So more international games are on the way starting in 2 years. The NFL will consider possibly Spain as a possible location for a regular season game in 2025. So if there are 8 international games each year, that means that each team would play in an international game every other year, which that might be interesting to you, particularly if maybe you've got the funds to say, hey, I want to go and see the Chiefs or my favorite team play in a different country. That's a pretty cool deal. They're gonna do it every other year starting in 2025. But Brazil will be the next stop. And that will be a fascinating crowd and atmosphere because they really do love the NFL in Brazil. I didn't know they were big Dolphins fans, but they maybe it's the teal. But they love the NFL in Brazil. So that'll be a neat atmosphere in Sao Paulo next year. Some Major League Baseball hot stove news. Late last night, this story broke. The San Francisco Giants finally found somebody to take their money. Korean superstar Jung-Ho Lee, a center fielder who has stood out in the Korean baseball organization since he was just 18 years old, signed a 6-year, $113 million contract. That is the biggest contract ever for an Asian-born hitter coming to Major League Baseball. First of all, Jung-Ho Lee kind of has a whack nickname. His dad was one of the great players in Korea of all time, and his nickname was Son of the Wind. So Jung-Ho Lee's nickname is Grandson of the Wind, and that doesn't really do it for me. That's kind of a whack nickname. We got to do better than that. But Jung-Ho Lee goes to the Giants. There were lots of rumors that the Padres would be interested. He is best friends with Ha-Sung Kim, who plays for the Padres. But Lee signed with the Giants. The Giants have spent the last 2 to 3 years trying and failing to sign free agents. They thought they were going to get Aaron Judge. They didn't. They had agreed to terms with Carlos Correa last year before a physical scotched that deal. But now Lee signs with the Giants, and he is not Aaron Judge. He is not Shohei Ohtani. But he's a good hitter. He's hit over 300 every year of his career in Korea. 2 years ago, hit 349 and won league MVP. Career high batting average is 360. He is a 340 lifetime hitter. Not a lot of power, though. Hit just 6 home runs this past year in 86 games and slugged just 455. So some concern that even though he does get bat to ball, we're really just kind of talking about the Korean Andrew Benintendi here, which it's an upgrade for the Giants, but it's also not really worth throwing a parade over. Speaking of the Giants, 2 things that came out of the Giants camp that I think are both very interesting. Number one, their general manager, Farhan Zaidi, said that they made the same offer to Shohei Ohtani that the Dodgers did. 10 years, $700 million. And that Ohtani chose to sign with the Dodgers instead. While it's fascinating and while I believe it, it's also very funny to imagine that it's a lie. And that every team's general manager should say, yes, we also offered Shohei Ohtani the exact same contract. We did that too. Like JJ Piccolo should say that. He should come out and say, yeah, we also wanted to pay Shohei all that money all those years. We had agreed to that. We were good with that. So there's that. There's also this from The Athletic. Buster Posey of the San Francisco Giants, who is an all-time Giants great, right? Like he's going to the Hall of Fame eventually. He is one of the best players to wear that uniform, certainly in the modern era. And he has done some work with the front office as a consultant and has tried to get players to consider San Francisco. He's been in meeting rooms with guys like, theoretically, Ohtani. And he said this to The Athletic today. Something that I think is noteworthy, something that unfortunately keeps popping up from players and even the players' wives, is there's a bit of an uneasiness with the city itself as far as the state of the city, with crime, with drugs. Whether that's all completely fair or not, perception is reality. It's a frustrating cycle, I think, and not just with baseball. Baseball's secondary to life and the important things in life, but as far as a free agent pursuit goes, I have seen that it does affect things. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the socioeconomics of San Francisco, California, or what it's like on the streets of San Francisco, California. I mean, I'm also not going to pretend to be an expert based on some cable news B-roll either. But Posey says it. Perception is reality. And if Major League Baseball free agents aren't keen on coming to San Francisco because of the reputation that San Francisco has as a city, that is fascinating and would explain a lot, frankly, because the Giants have had money to burn the last 3 years, and they haven't been able to get anybody to take it until the grandson of the wind, that is. That's going to do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. That's a good place to put a pin in it. We're going to come back. I've got some more thoughts on what Travis Kelce said on the New Heights podcast with his brother this week, particularly the idea that this might be the rallying point, the tipping point for the Chiefs in this 2023 season. I'll explain what I mean next here on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk. It's 537. Dan Lucero with you. We heard earlier in the program, in the 2 o'clock hour, from Travis Kelce. He was on the New Heights podcast. Of course he was. He hosts it with his brother. Had a lot to say about the Chiefs offense, the Chiefs wide receivers. Teams take on the personalities of their coaches, and even sometimes some of the verbal tics, the verbal habits of their coaches. And one of those came out from Travis Kelce. In addition to a lot of F-bombs that came out that we had to cut out of the clips. You can check out, we played the audio at the top of the 2 o'clock hour to open the show. You can find it on our podcast page, 580wibw.com, the podcast tab. Click on 580 Sports Talk. We have hour-by-hour breakdowns of the show every single day. Travis Kelce said he wants Chiefs Kingdom to know that we're going to get it fixed. We'll get that fixed. How many times you heard Andy Reid say that after a dispiriting performance or a disappointing loss? Not many, because there haven't been that many, right? These are the good times. These are the salad days. But nobody goes 20-0. And after a loss, that's a common refrain from Andy Reid. And now it's been a common refrain from Reid this week and from Patrick Mahomes with his press availability earlier today. And now with Kelce on his podcast to say, hey, we're going to get it fixed. And look, I don't begrudge Chiefs fans 1 second if you're tired of hearing that from the Chiefs by now, especially when the expectations are what they are, right? But we sat behind these microphones when the Chiefs were 6-1 or after the Miami game, and we said, look, the AFC West race is over. These guys are going to be the 1 seed. These guys are the AFC favorites. This is the best defense Patrick Mahomes has ever had. Destination Lombardi, red and gold reflection. It's happening. It's happening. They're the best team in the AFC. I know I said that. I know I was pretty firm in my commitment that this was the best team in the AFC. And they have not played like that since then. They've lost 4 of their last 6. It's a difficult stretch for the Chiefs right now. Only equaled by the 2-4 stretch that they went through early in 2021. They got to fix that year. But I think the expectations, the bar is even higher now this year, because the expectation is not just, hey, go win a Lombardi or go win another one. The expectation now is dynasty. That's a big word. And that's a big responsibility. If you want to be a dynasty, if you want to be a team that people talk about forever, 40, 50 years down the road, you want to be the Steel Curtain Steelers, you want to be the 80s 49ers or the 90s Cowboys, you want to be that team, it takes more than 2 rings to get there. And you certainly can't, in the middle of a dynastic run, trick off a division championship to a Bronco team with a quarterback who can't throw the ball far. There's one thing to hear Travis Kelce and the like say, we'll get it fixed after a loss. Like even last year it would have hit differently. But these losses too, this is the other side of it. These particular losses have been so frustrating. And I have seen your comments. I've seen your texts, 785-272-9429. I've seen your comments on the YouTube stream, youtube.com/@580 Sports Talk. I've seen the tweets. You want heads rolling. You want people thrown under the bus. I would advise you, if that is your position, and you want people thrown under the bus, I would advise you that you are in league in that thought with the likes of Stephen A. Smith, who went on ESPN and said the same thing, that it's time for Mahomes. I'm not going to do a Stephen A. Smith impersonation. I'm going to spare you guys that. It's 5:41. It's almost quitting time. I'm not going to throw up my voice doing Stephen A. Smith for you today. I don't have a very good Stephen A. Smith is the other part of that. But he went on ESPN television. It's time for Mahomes to start throwing his receivers under the bus. No, it's not. That doesn't do anybody any good. It's cathartic, but it doesn't help anything. So it's not time for that. It's not time to cut people. We see that a lot in the post-game reactions because people are emotional in the post-game reactions after losses. We see it. Cut Kadarius Toney. Cut Sky Moore. Cut Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Cut them all. Sign Daniel Sorensen back and cut him too. It just make me feel good to cut somebody. You know, that's catharsis, but it doesn't really get you anywhere. What gets you somewhere, and the Chiefs know this is a championship organization. And you don't get to be a championship organization the way the Chiefs have. Like last year was a one-off. Their second title in 5 years. Their third Super Bowl appearance in 5 years. You get to be that kind of organization when times get tough. Yeah, you're human. And you show some frustration and you show some disappointment like Mahomes did, like Reid did on the immediate aftermath of that loss on Sunday. No, this is the point at which you rally. This is the point at which you band together. This is the point at which you say all of this nonsense, all of these losing close games, all of this lack of attention to detail, this stops now. We all we got, we all we need, right? You've heard teams maybe do that in a pregame huddle. That's what Travis Kelce said. We got everything we need right here. I think he's right. The talent is not at issue here. I think the Chiefs are the most talented team in the AFC. I think at their absolute best, at their cleanest football, they play at a level that nobody else can get to. And I don't mean just in the AFC. I mean Dallas. I mean Philadelphia. At their best, there is nobody's best that is better than Kansas City's best. I absolutely believe that. The question is, how do you get to that best more often? I got months to figure it out. History suggests they can. It gets less likely by the week. That's true. But the history suggests if anybody can figure it out and get it fixed, it's Andy Reid and it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Take a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, the story of the worst sports gambler ever. 580 WIBW. Dan Lucero with you around in third, heading for home on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. It's 546 in the capital city. This story broke a week ago, but there were more details that came out about it today that I thought made it worthy of passing along to you. A former Jacksonville Jaguars financial employee was accused of stealing more than $22 million from the franchise over a 4-year period. Now, it's good they put a former Jaguars financial employee, because if it was a former Jaguars employee accused of stealing more than $22 million, I would say, damn, Urban Meyer got paid that much? Or I might say, that's a really mean thing to say about Blaine Gabbert. But no, a financial employee accused of stealing more than $22 million from the franchise over a 4-year period, and he did so by manipulating the virtual credit card program. Amit Patel was charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office with wire fraud and illegal monetary transaction. The allegation is that Patel used his position as the sole overseer of the franchise's virtual credit card program to fund lavish personal purchases and cover up his theft. According to the court filing, Patel is accused of stealing $22,221,454.40 and using some of that money for purchases including a condominium in Ponte Vedra Beach, a Tesla Model 3, crypto, chartering private jets, luxury hotel stays, a country club membership, and luxury watches. The virtual credit card program is a payment method that functions like a traditional credit card, but without a physical credit card. Certain employees were allowed to use the program for business-related purchases and expenses. Patel is accused of duplicating legitimate expenses in electronic ledger, inflating amounts of legitimate transactions, and entering fictitious transactions, and then using that money for his own personal purchases. Told you about some of the things he was buying. You know what other things he was buying? DFS, baby. Daily Fantasy Sports. David Purdom of ESPN reporting today that Patel was a high-volume, high-stakes daily fantasy sports player known for racking up big losses, according to online records of his account. During the time of his alleged crimes, 2019 and February 2023, Patel was playing daily fantasy sports under the username Parlay Picker on both FanDuel and DraftKings. A popular daily fantasy sports and betting site known as Roto Grinders shows that Parlay Picker put nearly $500,000 into fantasy tournaments on the NFL, Major League Baseball, PGA Tour, and UFC going back to 2017, before the point in time in which he allegedly began committing his crimes. He often entered dozens of lineups into fantasy tournaments with large prize pools. But DFS players familiar with his account believe his biggest losses came from the high-stakes three-man contests they say he regularly entered. The contests were against elite competition and had buy-ins. So just to play, buy-ins upwards of $24,000. So if you're familiar with the online gaming, daily fantasy sports, I've never gotten into daily fantasy sports. I like the more traditional, like pick a team, play it out through the year. I'm not a daily fantasy sports guy. Like I'll get down on a point spread or a total or a prop, but I'm not a big daily fantasy sports player. Maybe some of you are. But anyway, you know, if you are, that to enter a lineup, there's a buy-in. And the larger the buy-in, the bigger the prize, just like anything gambling related. This guy was buying into $24,000 competitions and losing big. Patel's attorney, Alex King, said in his statement that Mr. Patel did not use the Jaguars' virtual credit card to fund his lifestyle, but in a horribly misguided effort to pay back previous gambling losses that utilized the VCC program. Approximately 99% of the funds misappropriated were gambling losses, almost all of which occurred on FanDuel and DraftKings. Parlay Picker, according to the article by Purdom on ESPN.com, developed a reputation for loose play and rookie mistakes. Some remembered Parlay Picker submitting rosters that included players who weren't in the starting lineup. Well-known daily fantasy pro Matt Smith told ESPN that Parlay Picker would sometimes buy into a contest and then not even submit a lineup. Smith told ESPN, "My friend and I texted back and forth about how rich this guy must be." Imagine you buy into a game with $3,000 and then you don't play. You just don't even play. You don't even remember to put a lineup in for your. That's the only thing that you do. That's the only responsibility. Pick your lineup, push your chips in, boom, you're in. You couldn't even do half of the thing. As Parlay Picker's play escalated and word of his missteps spread in the DFS community, players made a point of seeking out contests against him. One veteran DFS player who communicated with ESPN on condition of anonymity said they believe Parlay Picker is, quote, the biggest loser ever on FanDuel. The person added, quote, he was legendarily bad. DraftKings and FanDuel declined to comment. The last tournament parlay picker entered that was tracked by Roto Grinders was the World Golf Championship on DraftKings on July 6th. The buy-in was 29 grand. There were 150 people that put up the 29 G's to play in this contest. Parlay picker finished tied for 129th. On the one hand, we have here not too dissimilar from the Chiefsaholic story, really at its heart. Somebody who liked to gamble, lost a lot of money, and needed to steal money to cover his gambling losses, and then just the cycle perpetuated itself, right? Like, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the throes of gambling addiction, which are very real and not really to be joked about. Like, that's what is at heart here. Gambling addiction is a real thing. If you or someone you know is addicted to gambling, like, seriously, get them help, seek help yourself. 1-800-GAMBLER is the phone number. I'm dead serious about that. But on the other hand, I don't know what's worse for Patel. Everybody knowing you're a fraud, you're a scam artist, you might be going to prison, or everybody knowing you are a, quote, legendarily bad daily fantasy sports player. Me personally, I aspire to many things. One thing I do not aspire to is having my name adjacent to the, quote, biggest loser ever. That would cut me to the core. That is insult to injury for our guy Patel. And it just goes to show you, man, gambling addiction is no joke. Do not mess with that stuff. Do not play around with an addiction to gambling. Gamble in moderation. Only bet what you can afford to lose. I don't mean for this to turn into a PSA, but it kind of is. Like, seriously, take care of your chicken, as Marshawn Lynch would say, and don't bet beyond your means, lest you end up like this guy in an ESPN article being called legendarily bad at fantasy sports. That's tough. One more break. We'll come back. A final word is next here on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up this edition of 580 Sports Talk today. If you were listening in the 4 o'clock hour, you can go back and you can listen to the archive on our website, 580www.com. Check out the YouTube archive as well on our YouTube page. Jake LeBon made his big announcement today. He is hanging up the headset. He will be stepping aside from 580 Sports Talk and 580 WIBW and Alpha Media, effective next week. His final show with us will be the 20th, so 1 week from today. And we'll have a lot more to say to Jake, about Jake, in honor of Jake here in the next week or so. But just want to encourage you folks to hang out with us for the next week. I mean, we always appreciate you being with us, listening, watching on the YouTube. But hang out with us for the next week. If you've enjoyed the work that Jake has done here, if you've enjoyed the work that he's done with myself and Brendan Brzezinski, then you're going to want to hang out for the next week or so, because we're going to go out as a 3-man group with a real bang. And don't worry, 580 Sports Talk not going anywhere, 2 to 6 every day, but it's going to sound a lot different without the big guy. So we're going to miss him. Join us tomorrow. We'll all be back from 2 to 6. For Jake, for Brendan, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk.